Hello, everyone, and welcome. It is Monday night. It is time for Revolutionary Change. I'm Jen Perelman.
I'm Peter Hager. Did I point in the right direction?
That is the correct direction. I'm just very frustrated that my background is not right. And I know that it's my problem, but just bear with me. There we go. Okay. Thank
Are you
you.
happy
All right.
now?
I am. Well, now it looks red to me. It's kind of, I don't like it when it's black. So hello, everyone. Welcome. We have a lot to talk about. I have a lot of problems with you people.
Well, our channel is growing at a surprisingly high rate right now. We are now at 61,200 subscribers.
Yeah.
We didn't even get a chance to do a, hey, welcome to 60,000. We just kind of shot past.
Hey, we're getting to the silver plaque.
Jen thinks we're going to get the silver plaque before the year is out. I think expectations are.
Well, here's the thing, though. The silver plaque, I have come to learn just from my own little reading, it's discretionary, right? Like for people who get to 100,000, yes, but then it's based on I don't think everybody gets it. So we'll see. We'll see if we get it. I don't know.
We'll have one made for us in honor, knowing that YouTube is not going to be looking favorably upon us for anything that we do. I think that is just to be expected in general. I bring this up because obviously we're extremely grateful. We actually have been noticing a lot of people in the chat saying, I remember when you guys only had a few thousand subscribers. It's great to see it, blah, 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 blah. And we appreciate it very, very much. I bring it up because...
Oh, Do Dissidents got a plaque. Well, if Do Dissidents got a plaque, we should be able to get a plaque.
If they get a plaque, we get a plaque. You get a plaque. Everyone gets a plaque.
Everyone gets a plaque. Well,
actually, I'm going to tell you guys right now how many YouTube channels have 100,000 subs. As of today,
you mean percentage of YouTube channels?
Since YouTube's inception, as of August of 2025, approximately 618,955 YouTube channels have over 100,000 subscribers, which is less than 1% of all YouTube channels ever. So to say that we might make it to the top 1%, that is very...
It's not funny anymore because he's just so... I'm just so over him.
Yeah, well, Jen has this theory. What's your theory, Jen?
I think he's better without me here. He does so much better. The numbers are better. I think I'm also having internet issues, and Jason would like to reset. So I'm a little nervous to allow that, but then I don't know how good my connection is right now.
Well, your connection seems okay as far as I can see.
Okay. All right.
Something comes up. And as I was saying, the reason I bring this up, for those of you who have been following Hamza and his work, he was kicked off and demonetized from YouTube again. Apparently, this has happened a few times. This is the last video that was posted from his channel.
I'm from Palestine.
No, listen. Peace, peace.
Peace?
Yes, peace.
Okay, so free Palestine?
No. After we kill all Gaza, then it will be peace.
These people are crazy. And as I said, I know we cannot control them. Yes, Keith Stone, we are on Rumble.
Yes.
We are Revolutionary Change on Rumble. I was going to wait for the full crowd to pick up to make the announcement, but if you guys are not currently subscribed to Revolutionary Change on Rumble or Spotify, make sure you get over there and subscribe. We want to hedge our bets. Why? Because if Hamza is getting kicked off, I don't understand.
He was saying they're slowing down my internet.
Oh, yeah.
That the Mossad is slowing down my internet. That's what he was saying.
Well, we also have had to get creative with our clip titles and whatnot to make sure that we're getting past the algorithm. We were able to do that on our last few videos. Again, there's certain words that clearly we cannot mention, otherwise we're in big trouble. But as you can see, I would guess that these girls are in their early teens. Will you stream in that? Yes, Victoria, we are streaming as we speak on on Rumble. We are live on Rumble right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So keep it in mind. And here is the link. So if you guys are so inclined, make sure that you go over there and just click the subscribe button, even if you don't want to watch on Rumble, which is perfectly fine. We just want to get the numbers up there, because if, for heaven
Big Brother.
forbid, Big Brother decides to pull the rug out from under us, as they have done with Hamza, who's to say that they won't do it with us? Now, Jen, of course, has a theory that they'll do it with other bigger channels first before they get to us. But
I think so. I mean, we're still, I mean, once they get down to, we'll watch it as they get trickle down, but they have to start going after the million sub people first. I mean, that is enticing.
Battle of the winless teams. Yes.
It's enticing.
Yeah. I mean, I know this is all fun and everything, but, go to see your Dolphins.
And by the way, I had gotten a comment on, I don't know if it was just on a clip, and someone asked if we were on Spotify, and we used to be. Like, if you look up Generational Change on Spotify and the Apple, whatever it is, we go up to a certain point, and then for some reason they just stopped doing it. And I never really understood. Look, I am the age I am. I am as tech challenged as I am. And I did the best I could for a long time dealing with the Podbean, the YouTube, and all of it. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so something lapsed somewhere and it stopped uploading us to Spotify. However, I have just discovered on my own how to put our stuff on Spotify, and we are back on Spotify. So now we will be what I will be doing is putting our live streams on when they're done. So for people who want to listen to it the next day, and we'll start with that and see where it goes. So Revolutionary Change on Spotify. If it doesn't come up, put Revolutionary Change Jen. For some reason that made it come up, but anyhow, that's what we got going on.
How old would you venture these girls are? 12, 13 maybe?
No, I think they're more like 15 to 17.
Okay.
Because the one on the left has she's got like a figure on her. I just saw her, these are not little girls. Sure.
But they are definitely indoctrinated from a very young age. You would say that that's fair.
Yes. I think, Henman, I'm trying to figure out how to sync it with the Apple one too. Give me a few weeks. I'll get it all figured out. But for now,
stop getting distracted. You're doing it again.
I'm sorry. We like the people.
You guys, I mean this in the most kind way possible. If you have tech questions, send a super chat and then we'll read it. We got to stick with the program because it's a very important topic to cover here. So here's more of what they had to say before it clips out.
There are 1 million children in Gaza and you want them all gone? You said you wanted peace by killing Palestinians. Unfortunately, they teach their kids that to have peace is by getting rid of Palestinians.
Yes. That's what they teach them. You definitely have a you have a slow moving stream right now is the way I would describe it.
All right, I'm gonna let him reset the internet and I'll be right back, okay?
Okay. And so what Hamza has done for the longest time, and he's been doing this, I mean, I think he was doing it before October 7th, but obviously at great length, he's been doing it here over the past 2 years, and probably, at least in terms of a Palestinian, I think we can all agree between all of the major social media channels, TikTok being the most prevalent for him, but also Instagram and even X, he has had as great an impact on changing hearts and minds about the issue of Israel-Palestine as anybody. If you ever look through some of the work that he's done and the interviews that he's done, those girls, that's the norm. In fact, there are girls that are even worse than that. But the bloodlust that they have towards Palestinians cannot be understated. It's vile and it's dangerous. Now, we, of course, cannot control what goes on with all of these people. We just can't. What we can do, as has been our modus operandi, at least for the last 2 years, how do we get away from this genocidal state of Israel? How do we unravel this unholy alliance? Julie, we are thrilled to have you here. Love the American flag, love the Palestinian flag. Those are the two flags that should be seen together, not the blue and white flag. Don't even like talking about it. Ghostwriter, I appreciate you, brother. I'm glad to have you here. And we do have some noobs. We do have some not so happy people. We can't please everybody, but what we can do is try to make an impact as best we can based on the knowledge that we have, which is Israel's committing a genocide. Their lobby controls our government, period. And we have to do what we have to do to break away from that power structure that they have embedded into our country. It is painfully obvious that, especially on foreign policy, but domestic policy as well, but especially on foreign policy, we are not able to get out from the death grip that they have on us right now. However, it does seem that across almost the entire political spectrum, there is a unification that is happening right now, which is great. There is a lot less of that, well, I don't really agree with this person on this particular issue, so I can't possibly agree with them on that particular issue. No, I think that there is a universal understanding. All right, maybe not universal. I'm not going to go there and say that it's a universal understanding as of yet. However, do I think that we are getting to a point where people are becoming a lot more accepting of others in terms of maybe political and even economic philosophical differences to unite on this key issue? That is, how do we get away from the genocidal state of Israel and its stranglehold over our nation? I do think that's happening. I think you'd have to, just be eyes wide shut at this point if it didn't, ring true. But I bring up Hamza and I bring up what's happening because at any moment, the rug can get pulled out from under us. So that's what we have to be cognizant of. We will continue to talk about these issues no matter how much we grow. Because in the end, we've only been able to grow because we've used our platform to talk about the issues that matter the most.
I'm sorry, were you speaking to me?
You're here too. You're allowed to talk.
I wasn't, honestly, I was shut down. It wasn't like I was able to even hear. So I really wasn't able to hear the rest of the, how they brainwash their children in Israel.
Well, the good news is, and this is why I didn't want to start the clip until you came in, over the weekend, now we've seen several of these. This is not a new thing, but this is becoming a lot more commonplace. Israelis are finding out. We'll leave it at that. They're finding out. Genocide doesn't work. And they have sealed their fate for generations to come because their attitude, their brazen attitude, is one of defiance. Okay, be defiant. This is how you're going to get treated and should be treated all over the friggin' world for the rest of your natural lives.
Free Palestine. Israel doesn't exist, bro. Israel doesn't exist. Israel doesn't exist, bro. Free Palestine. Free Palestine.
Move.
Free Palestine.
They're very big into bird flipping. They're very big into bird flipping. That's like one of their favorite things.
Well, she looks native to the Middle East, I got to tell you.
Yeah, she really does. Well, for anybody who's not aware, this is happening in Thailand, this particular situation that just happened the other day, where they were asked to leave a restaurant yet again. But I just saw something about a whole bunch of people being taken off of airplane.
Yes, you sent me that video. It was very grainy. I didn't.
I just know that it happened. We don't need to show the video, but I'm the world has had it.
Yeah, apparently there was about 50 some odd Israelis that were pulled off of an airline because they didn't shut the fuck up.
Yes.
Like they were singing Hebrew at the top of their lungs, even though they were told to quiet down, and they wouldn't stop.
Nope. And they all got arrested or escorted off the plane. Yep.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
They cannot.
The problem is they come here with like impunity. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, we're here. So that kind of sucks for us. Maybe Argentina will take a whole bunch of these people. No
Well, they
offense
are.
to like nice people in Argentina, but you
Well,
know,
I've
you have
never been
really
to
big.
Argentina. You're going to
I'm sure there's really look. All right, I'm sure it's lovely, but better them than us. That's my truth.
I thought you had. Hey, listen, I knew that you were really concerned about them going to Cyprus and didn't want to see that happen. Why should Argentina have to
Well,
suffer?
first of all, Argentina is massive. Massive.
It
There's
is.
a lot of places in space in Argentina. Cyprus is this tiny little island
That's true.
that is just not going to accommodate that many people. That's why. Like it just doesn't seem, it wouldn't be as intrusive in theory in some place as big as Argentina, you know, like put them in some enclave in the jungle or something. I don't freaking know.
And again, what I bring up, I mean, listen, this girl just kind of has the entire look. You know, she looks like a North Shore Long Island Jew. That's what she looks like. And yet she is one of many that you would typically find living in Tel Aviv, claiming that this is where they're from. This is our land. Why? Because the Sky Daddy told us it's so.
Well, no. These are secular people. These are not religious people. These people don't practice Judaism. They just don't. So these are secular, entitled white supremacists. That's what they are. Now, they happen to be of Ashkenazi Jewish descent, which allows them and their family to live, you know, just with complete, you know, disregard of everybody in West Asia and, you know, all that. But no. This is not a Jewish thing. These are not practicing Jews. They wouldn't act like this. They just wouldn't. So just saying.
Well, that's not to say that there aren't practicing Jews that don't feel this way.
No, there are no. They wouldn't act in this manner. This is not the behavior of practicing anything, people. That's just my thought. This is disgusting animal-like behavior. And that's not anybody that I think of as practicing any religion. So that's just me.
I think it is more than acceptable to want to believe in God. I think it's less than acceptable to believe in organized religion when you see what it does. Now, as I've said, we've been around the three major Western faiths, and I think it is safe to say that the most non-judgmental experience I've ever had in a house of God is inside a mosque.
Yes.
I don't know if everybody else has had the same experience, but that's certainly the one that I had. And I wonder if anybody else can speak to it.
It's the least commercial too. I will say that. There is definitely in Christianity and Judaism much more of this commercial aspect to services, to how they run their, you know, churches or synagogues or whatever. Just there's more of a, yeah. You know what I mean? It just doesn't feel like that when you're in a mosque.
You have to understand how this money moves around and why Argentina is getting what it's getting. Argentina, much like they did for the Nazis after World War II, is doing the same thing right now when it comes to Israel. And the money moves through our country and essentially rotates.
It's like the Nazi, it's like the, you know, the axis of evil from World War II, except we're replacing the Italians and the Germans and working with Argentina instead of Japan. But, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, this is very, Nikki, I see what you did there. I appreciate you.
What?
I appreciate you. Okay, onward.
What did that say?
It was talking about this nice woman here, and it said she's a cunning stunt.
Well, she really looks like a charmer, let me tell you. But
you don't get it, do you?
I do get it.
I don't know. I'm kind of
Peace and love. Peace and love.
Fuck you. Stop killing children and then peace and love. Fucking terrorists. Go.
Why are the women so much more hostile than the men? What does that come from?
Emasculated man babies that are probably mama's boys that are just whoever their cucks are with them. I don't know.
No, I've seen a lot of women that are extremely brazen about their behavior.
Oh, they're disgusting.
Yeah,
they're disgusing.
Very
I'm loath
entitled.
I'm loath to say I know who these people, like not these people personally, but the same type of people. I know the people.
So when she turned 16, you think she got a BMW or a Mercedes? Which one do you think?
Oh, who knows? I mean, it's like, it isn't even, it's not the same there in terms of the socioeconomic thing. It's just not the same there like that.
I would definitely say that it is a lot of it, in my opinion, is an economic issue.
In this country.
Yes.
In Israel, there isn't that same socioeconomic, that inequity. You know, there isn't that same sort of level of divide that you see amongst Jews in Israel. That's what I'm saying to you.
No, but there are Jews in Israel that are against the Israeli government.
Yeah, no. I'm talking about socioeconomic. So like when you say she's like some, princess, what I'm saying to you is that in Israel, it's not like that as it is here. It isn't the same thing with like the disparity socioeconomically between like wealthy Jews and just regular people. Whereas in Israel, it's a lot more equitable. So not it's not, you don't presume that people are all just money necessarily. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
She's just disgusting.
I'm debating whether we should just continue this and go right into the Rosh Hashanah story, or if we should save it for the second half. What do you think?
You mean after Matthew?
Yeah.
We could, but then are we just going to be done like harping on the Zios for a while?
Well, yeah. I mean, we could either go full Monty on the Zios now, or we can hold it for a little while and then come back. Depends on how you want.
I don't care. I go both ways.
Okay. So I can't get you to make a decision.
Colin, I'm so like, I don't want to think about it. Like, it doesn't matter to me. Pick a direction. Put something up.
Well, I was going to suggest to Colin to have to. Okay. So we have, I'll give you three choices. You got to pick one.
Okay.
Rosh Hashanah, Buc-ees, or the data center.
Oh, that's a really tough one because it's like apples, oranges, and like, apricots.
Pineapples.
Pineapples. I think we should save the data center because it's its whole own thing. I think it's totally unrelated. And, we could do like we have wanted to, I said we should have started with Buc-ees and have it be like the nice little intro, but you didn't let me show my slow burn. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Rock your slow burn and then we'll do it.
All right.
Jen's been messing around with some graphics. If you're going to show one, you might as well show the other.
No, it has to be contextual. So this could be the slow burn. We're trying to work out some programming stuff, but I was playing with graphics. So
now, for those of you who have obviously watched the deterioration of capitalism in the United States, and it couldn't be more obvious by the day that the system is collapsing, we cannot rely on benevolence to have successful entrepreneurship. Obviously, it's nice when we have it, when we see it, and we applaud it. One of those entrepreneurs is the owner and founder of Buc-ees. Now, Jen, I feel that it is incumbent upon you to explain this because I have never been to one, but you have, and I think you've been to a few. So tell everybody about Buc-ees and what it's all about.
And and this is one of those things where I was not like one of the first people in on it by any stretch, like that, because it started in Texas. So I think it sort of worked its way in this direction. So Buc-ees is a road stop, truck stop, travel stop throughout, off of highways. And it's just the best. It's the best. They have everything. Buc-ees has the best. I know. At bathrooms, like everything. They make their own fudge. They have their and I don't even eat meat, I will tell you, but they're like smoking meat and slicing brisket there. I mean, it's like a spread. And then they have everything you could ever possibly want. I mean, they make their own fudge. So, I mean, it's a really cool place. And it's just really fun. And then for someone who was towing a trailer, it's so convenient. It's literally designed so conveniently, how the gas pumps are, how everything is. It's a very thoughtful place. That's how it feels. It feels thoughtful.
Well, it sounds like anybody that's ever been there absolutely loves it. And so I'm going to take you guys back on a journey 6 years ago when this place really was starting to take off. This is from Texas monthly. The gentleman who founded this multi-billion-dollar corporation, I don't even know if I would call it a corporation. I would just call it a big small business. That's ostensibly what it is. That to me, I think, is really the more appropriate term for what this business model is. Buc-ees, the path to world domination. The gentleman's name is Beaver Applin. Built the quirky convenience chain into a Texas empire. Will his tactics translate outside the state? The answer is yes. But here's where things stood back in 2019. About a century ago in central Louisiana, in the town of Harrisonburg, the seat of Catalooha Parish, Arch and May Applin opened a general mercantile store. The Applins sold everything: dried goods and leather shoes, medicine and cotton shirts, cuts of beef and hammers and nails. Remember, this is before the days of refrigerators and freezers. And their store was successful in large part because of its location. Harrisonburg sits on the western bank of the Ouachita River. And back then, the town was a hub of travelers, or for travelers. If you were heading east to Mississippi or west into the Louisiana Hill Country, you had to traverse the Ouachita, and the ferry that docked them at the bottom of Main Street in Harrisonburg was one of the only ways to do that. The Applin store stood on Main Street, just inland from the ferry. No crossing the river in either direction could miss it. But the Applins didn't just want customers of convenience. They took pride in their store. They called it Arch Applin's Big Little Store in Catalooha Parish. And they offered travelers products they couldn't get anywhere else. The Applins stocked turnip greens they've harvested on their farm, and they sold syrup that made from their own sugarcane. Arch raised cattle and hogs, and he built a smokehouse on the family property to cure the meat he produced. It became famous throughout the corner of the Deep South. It was so good that the salesmen coming from Alexandria, Monroe, and Natchez, Mississippi, they'd put in their order in for so many hams and so many pounds of sausage. Arch and May's son, Arch Applin, remembered. Arch Jr. was born in 1925, and he was more or less raised at the store. His mother nursed him in the back room where he was a baby. Well,
Why are you reading? This was so not where I thought we were going with this discussion. We need to talk about the business practices.
We need more relevance here. This is too much of a.
Where did you get this? This wasn't what I had no idea we were doing this. I thought you wanted to put up the picture of Jason and his Buc-ees beaver shirt.
Hold on, slow down. Scroll up. Stop. Scroll up, please.
Stop yelling at Colin.
Keep going. Keep going. To 1982. Keep going. There we are. In 1982, 2 years after graduating from college, Arch III got another idea. He knew there was an unused property next to a four-way stop sign on the border between Lake Jackson and the town of Clute. He thought he could take its owner, a well-to-do Houston banker named A.G. McNeese Jr., into selling. He did. His plans for the property seemed modest. A 23-year-old, that's pretty good, decided he would not build a skyscraper, but a kind of general mercantile store on his own.
Mercantile.
Oh, it's mercantile?
Yes.
Arch III wanted to make his store just a little special. Sure, he would offer the same beef jerky and chips and soda as everyone else, but he installed brass ceiling fans and wrapped the upper parts of the walls in rough cedar. His store would be a little more inviting too, a roomy 3,000 square foot instead of the industry average 2,400 square feet. I would imagine it's probably even bigger than that today.
Oh, they're insanely big. Like it's so, I mean, and then the outside is big. I mean, they have like 100 gas pumps.
Yep. On July 28th, 1982, Arch III opened his store at 899 Oyster Creek Drive, right where it crossed Old Angleton Road. Early on, he decided he needed a good name and a good logo, something could build on. The logo wasn't ready by the time the store opened, but he could already commissioned it. It would be a cartoon riff on his nickname since childhood, Beaver. The name of the store, too, drew inspiration from his life. When Beaver was a kid, one of his father's colleagues called him Bucky Beaver, after a cartoon character featured in Ipana toothpaste ads.
Ipana. And it was brusha, 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 get the new Ipana, right? Brusha, brusha, brusha. It's dandy for your teeth. I know it because of, Grease, because it comes on in Grease and she does the little thing.
Yeah, that's definitely not for me, but thank you for sharing. The nearby high school of Brazelwood had the Buccaneers as their mascot. It all added up. I think you'll see it's the nicest, prettiest store around. It's very sharp looking. I believe everyone who comes in will be in awe over the way it looks.
Yes.
Clear his ambitions were bigger than that one location. If this one goes like we hope it will, you never can tell. We might have a chain of Buc-ees. If he dreamed that one day his creation might become a Texas icon, a temple of roadside convenience and everything's bigger abundance, and that it would even reach a point in 2019 when it would outgrow Texas, he certainly didn't share the thought at the time. He was just a kid from Lake Jackson following in his family's footsteps. And I think we can hold it there.
It's just they have a very good work model there. And I will say, if anybody lives near a Buc-ees and you are looking for, work in any sort of like retail type of situation, I highly recommend checking it out. They have like their help wanted signs. They pay really well. They pay really well there. So
they basically pay a living wage. Yeah. Okay. And so this from CBS Sunday Morning News dropped less than a month ago. So this is an update 6 years later from when that article was written.
Okay.
Just as Buc-ees was expanding outside of the Lone Star State.
It's my nickname. My mom named me that when I was born.
Bucky Beaver Space Guard. Russia, Russia, Russia.
There was a cartoon character way back, really before my time.
Standing for your teeth.
A toothpaste commercial, and he was Bucky Beaver. And so this fella always called me Bucky Beaver growing up.
Applin opened the first Buc-ees in 1982 as a regular-sized convenience store. But it wasn't until 2003 that he got the idea to build the mother of all gas stations. These days, Buc-ees has 41 travel centers throughout the South and boasts 2 world records for the world's largest gas station and the world's longest car wash.
This is one of your favorites.
Yep.
After almost 40 years in business.
That is wonderful. Thank you.
It is. And they make their own tortillas, and it's a really good spread there.
It's one thing if you are the boss man, as Mr. Applin is, and you go there, you say hi to your employees, and you have like a chummy relationship. It's another thing entirely if you have that relationship and it's based in actual economic compensatory business model. In his case, he clearly cares about his employees as much as he cares about his customers. That is somebody who is a billionaire today, but as you pointed out, and I don't know if it's mentioned in this clip, but we'll see, he's been asked to basically be allowed to have his business bought out by private equity.
He's been offered money to sell, and they won't do it. He does have his business partner, that is his partner, but they own 100%. And he won't sell it, and he doesn't want to compromise the quality of anything there. And I was just very impressed with that. So I'm like, all right, I got to go check out a Buc-ees. And it was just so awesome there. Plus, all the employees, everyone's like happy to be there. Everyone is like that works there is like happy to be there. And it's nice.
Beaver Applin and his very private, very camera-shy business partner, a guy named Don Wasik, still owned 100% of Buc-ees.
It wouldn't change the experience.
No investors, no board of directors, and that's exactly how they want it.
Any more fresh than this.
Thank you.
Yeah, it allows us total independence to do what we think is the best, and we don't have to answer to maybe a suggestion of how could we cut cost.
Hey, welcome to Buc-ees.
It's probably one reason why the starting wage for employees at this gas station
How are you today?
is $15 an hour.
This was 6 years ago.
No, this is actually
When was this?
This video is new.
But so they just did this now?
Yes.
They're giving more money than that now.
Sure. I would say that, again, that's the starting. But what is the average? The average wage, well, you're seeing it here. Associates get 15 to 19 an hour.
This could also be location dependent.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And don't forget that where a lot of the Buc-ees typically exist in terms of where you will find them. They're not in necessarily high, densely populated areas. They're typically roadside, high trafficked, major highways.
But look at that. 3 weeks paid time off, help in your first year, healthcare and 401k, $2 extra for every night. I mean, I don't know places that are offering that for this kind of work.
Where Colin lives in Central Texas, it looks like 18 an hour is pretty much the starting. But
Yeah,
here's the
that's
thing.
what I was saying.
But here's the thing, guys. 18 an hour is not a living wage. But
Not
if you
yet.
make it up to 32 an hour, that is a living wage.
But then
And-
you're also giving health care,
correct.
right? So, I mean, it's just, yeah. And again, yeah, where these are, the people that are working at Buc-ee's don't live in Manhattan. So it's just, yeah, I mean, where these are generally, I mean, probably the one that's near Austin where Colin is probably has people with the highest housing market of where these things are.
See, now that's not capitalism. That's the free market. He knows he has a business model that works. Now, the only problem we have in the capitalist system, which is a huge problem.
No, capitalism would be him selling it. That
Well,
would be
that's true
capitalism.
too. You see, the problem, unfortunately, in a capitalist free market system is that he is under no obligation at all, zero, to take care of his employees. Zero. He could treat them like shit, which is exactly what the Waltons have done to become the super rich that they have with the Walmart model.
Well,
That
they
was
get
terrible.
subsidies, but you know what? I bet you people, when you apply for a job at Buc-ee's, they don't have to give you the corresponding application for food stamps.
Nope. They just give you health care and a 401k.
Right.
Ain't that sweet? Yeah. Amazing. It's actually not that complicated. But this is where, if we lived in a just system, that this would be the norm.
Yeah,
This
this is
would
the
be
antithesis
phenomenal.
of Walmart. Like when I go into a Walmart, and I am loath to say that as of late, I've been into it more times than I would want to on my camping excursion, because that was the only thing. I know it's not good. But the reason I don't, it's even if I didn't have a problem with them morally, which I do, they're just so depressing to me. They're gross.
Yeah.
They don't smell good. The people that work there are just, nobody's happy to be there. I don't know. It's just a very different, Buc-ee's.
I
is
get
the
a very,
complete opposite.
it's like certain political figures. I get a very negative energy feel when I walk into a Walmart. I don't want to have
Depressing.
anything to do with that corporation. It's almost like, honestly, the feeling I get walking into a Walmart is like it was built on an ancient Indian burial ground. Like to me,
Yeah.
that's the vibe I get from them. That's
Yeah.
what they've done to this country. They've destroyed it in so many ways. Do not shop at Walmart is the message.
No, go to Buc-ee's.
With benefits. Did you ever have a moment where you thought, wow, I made it, it happened?
My dad, I could always tell he had a little bit of concern. Are you okay? You sure are building these big? This went on many, many years. But when I saw in my dad's eyes that he wasn't concerned anymore and he felt like we had made it, then I think that would be my moment.
Applin is now taking Buc-ee's national, with 6 travel centers outside of Texas and plans for many more. He's betting this unapologetically Texas institution can work beyond the borders of the Lone Star State.
And just so people, who are interested, and again, I'm not a meat eater anymore, but as someone who lived in Texas for 6 years, their barbecue is Texas barbecue. So even if you were at the one in Kentucky, it's Texas barbecue. I'm just putting that out there.
The way that I would describe Buc-ee's is, at least from what I'm seeing here, is that it is the 21st century version of a general store.
Yes.
If you rewind the clock to the 19th century or even the 18th century, dare I say, where it was probably a lot more commonplace in the early stages of the U.S.
Saul, it's cooler than that. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. And they make their own food, and yeah.
But I would definitely say that if you've ever driven past a general store, and places like where I am in the Florida Panhandle, there are still general stores that operate. There's actually a really cool general store it's not Kingsman, Arizona, but there's one in Arizona that's off of the old Route 66, where that one's been around forever. But that's one that is a throwback to when people were traveling by horseback. And this is where you would stop and you would get all of your supplies for your trip and your travels. And it seems like Buc-ee's is kind of 200 years later,
Yeah.
that updated version of such. So if
And
you're
they
looking-
make their own jerky. Like there's an entire, again, not a meat eater, but I was with a meat eater, entire jerky counter. There's a bakery, the giant cinnamon buns, their banana pudding is just really good. It's just, it's a spread. It's really nice. And especially when you see the kind of places that you usually have off the highway when you're traveling. And when you're pulling something, there's not that many places that are convenient to pull into.
Correct.
And they're just extremely, it's a very thoughtful layout. Yes. Exactly that. And also the Tesla chargers are the ones that I saw, they put them in the back so that no one has to see those fools. But the majority of people that you will see at Buc-ee's, you'll see infinitely more truck drivers and pickup truck people. And yeah.
Speaking of Costco, which is my favorite national corporation in the United States, they have finally gotten the construction permits for Pensacola. So that is going to cut my travel time in half. So
how long does that take? How long does it take to build a Costco?
Well, I mean, I would think it would take a year, but I think that depending on the speed, especially in a very red part of the United States, I would say it maybe 6 months, maybe less.
Well, they sure as shit ain't getting South Koreans to come and help build it. I'll tell you that.
Kat, let me tell you, 60 miles seems very appealing to me right now.
That's crazy.
Yeah, east to west from where I live is pretty much even. So from where I am, I have to go all the way to Mobile, Alabama, or I have to go to Tallahassee.
I don't Costco. So.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You're very fortunate where you are.
Why?
Now,
I don't Costco. It doesn't matter to me where there's a Costco because I don't Costco.
Well, you should Costco.
Why? I don't need that much of anything at any one time. What do I need all that for?
Because stuff stores well. That's the, you want, go get your frozen pizzas.
No, I don't. That's to me. It's like, no, if you have a big family, if you buy for an office, if you really need to buy in bulk, I get it. But I appreciate them as a company. But yeah, unless I'm having like a party, I don't Costco.
Now we talk about the upside of the economic system that we're living in right now, which obviously is, dying. I think we can all agree on that. But there is also the side, as we've shown you, the positive side, which is Buc-ee's. Now you get to see the negative side.
Uh-oh.
And credit to we have made a habit of saying this, and I think it is fair to say, that the only Democratic Party adjacent nonprofit content creator that is out there is More Perfect Union. And they do really good work.
Yes, they do.
And so they went into a place that Jen knows very well, Indianapolis, Indiana. And it does seem that one of the great crises that we're dealing with right now in terms of environmental devastation are these massive, it's not just AI, but data centers in general. This is a real problem. Yeah. And if you live anywhere near them, you would understand the catastrophe that this is causing now. And so here's what just happened. It's a good story, but it's a reminder that this is just the beginning and it's going to get so much worse.
To announce our intention to withdraw this proposal.
Good riddance.
I'm in Indianapolis, where Google just pulled down their petition to build an AI data center, preventing the city council from voting on whether to advance the project.
We beat Google. For a long time, it felt like we were four people with cardboard swords fighting a monster. But tonight, it shows that people power still reigns.
This was do or die. We came prepared to fight with everything we have against this data center, because if they voted it out, that was it.
It feels like I'm not going to have my livelihood destroyed. We farm 3 acres, so if there's no water or water contamination, I don't have a business.
What's the matter, Jen?
There's something flying around me.
Well, it can't be any worse than that.
I have a real problem with all of these things, with all these data centers. And I would like to have on someone who really understands I mean, I need to know why there's so many more cropping up in terms of more people, in terms of, is it for more complex AI? And if so, I mean, what does that entail? Like, so if I do search on Google, what does that use versus what a chat GPT uses or what any of these things use? And I feel like we need to know what that is. We need to know what that is. But something is very awry when whole towns have migraines, where whole towns are complaining of migraines from this humming or buzzing or whatever the hell it is. And yeah, I mean, the water is a whole other issue, but just talking specifically about the direct effect on people's health, this is a significant problem.
You know, I talked to a guy who I really like. He's a good friend. He lives in South Florida. He is Black. And he kind of consults with me privately about politics because he's trying to have a better understanding about how a lot of this stuff works. And he says, is this a Black problem? And I said, no, actually, it's a poor problem. It just so happens that the largest portion of demographic in the United States that is poor in terms of percentage happens to be Black. And so Indianapolis was able to fight this off, but a city that is only a few hundred miles away to the south was not able to fight it off. And that, of course, is Memphis. And Memphis is a very Black city, and they are having a problem when it comes to these data centers and the headaches that are developing in parts of West Memphis. So is it surprising? No. If you are poor, good luck. Because what is kind of a common theme here with a lot of the people that you're seeing at this event? It's not just that they're white, it's that they are active, they have probably money, and they're able to fight back. Indianapolis is not a poor city. Memphis is. So there is a difference. And they're going to go where they're going to go. East Palestine, Flint.
Yes, where vulnerable people are. Yes, that's where they get away with it, where there's low tax base and people have no power politically or otherwise. That's what they do. That's what they do. So, Rachel, remind me, Erin Brockovich. We need to invite Erin to come on. This is
been trying to get her on. I've got her cell and her email.
Yeah,
I know. That. So
she's speaking at Flagler College. She's speaking at Graham School like next month. So I think. Yeah.
Residents remain cautiously optimistic, but it's clear that the fight is far from over. This is the same tactic that a secretive tech company used in St. Charles, Missouri, which pulled down their application in the hopes of returning to the community when opposition fades away.
I don't trust Google for 1 second. We've been told before that if they withdraw on their own, then they can come back in 3 months.
Now we got, again, big tech coming in saying this is a perfect place for data centers, but they forgot to ask Hoosiers. Yeah. And Hoosiers are saying no. All my Hoosiers, I love you all. Keep fighting.
Okay. What's a Hoosier?
A person who lives in Indiana?
Exactly. How ridiculous. I love that. This was something that drove me crazy. And for people who don't know, I lived in Indianapolis for a while, like 4 or 5 years. And so it would make me insane because I'd ask people from there and be like, what's a Hoosier? Somebody from Indiana. And none of them know anything other than that. But it's just so funny to me that it's not anything else. Because normally a mascot or a thing, it's like, I don't know. It's very strange. Anywho, I actually think it was a person's name.
Maybe.
Like from a long time ago. Like we have Flagler here.
Well, Indiana in general is just a state that is really known. I mean, it's Larry Bird's state. So it's a
I met Larry Bird and at Ruth's Chris one night in Indianapolis, and he was such a nice guy. But the whole thing in Indiana is that a Hoosier is someone from Indiana. None of them know really what it is, which is kind of odd, don't you think?
Yeah.
It's not like Buc-ees. At least you know what a Buc-ee is. It's a really good cookie.
I met Ruth Riley, who was a great WNBA player from back in the day. In fact, I met her right before she played for the Detroit Shock and ended up winning the WNBA championship and the MVP back in, I think it was like 2003. And she's from Indiana. She went to Notre Dame. You know, it's religion. Like in Indiana, you're a Hoosier. You're at least some type of a basketball fan.
Yeah, try criticizing Bobby Knight anywhere in the state of Indiana.
Yeah, won't go over very well.
This is yet another rejection of big tech secretly inserting themselves into a community, threatening its water supply and electricity costs. Well, this story isn't over. Indianapolis residents halted Google's plans, and that alone is worth celebrating.
My 6 years on the council, I've never seen all the rooms filled to the max with people waiting in the lobby. I'm overjoyed by the amount of community support that came out for this.
So keep in mind what this guy is saying. And I think it's important that you keep it in mind. So
I thought we were going to talk about Larry Bird for a second. I was getting excited. I love Larry Bird.
I feel Larry Bird, the only basketball player in the history of basketball that I would say is better than Larry Bird is Michael Jordan. That's it.
And if you were to ask Michael Jordan who he hated going up against the most, he would say Larry Bird. Larry Bird is a basketball player's basketball player. That's how I think of him. Like they all so they have some serious respect for him. I mean, he would get insulted if they'd put a white guy on him. He actually told coaches, he was like, that's just disrespectful.
If you ask the greatest players that have ever played, and I'm talking about players that played against Larry Bird, against Michael Jordan, against Kobe Bryant, and even against LeBron James.
Bird is the word.
Tell you that if you had Larry Bird in his prime, not when he broke his back and he was a shell of himself in
he
his
also
last
was badass in that regard too. Like that he played like these guys are such wusses now compared to that.
They all universally said, you give me LeBron in his prime against Bird in his prime, I'm taking Larry Bird. And I would
always.
If anybody has not seen who Larry Bird was at the height of his powers, when he really was the best player in basketball for a 3 to 5 year period, I'm telling you, again, no one truly played and thought the game the way he did. That's what's amazing. And he was also actually a very good defensive player.
And you know what? He's a really nice guy.
Sure. That helps too. And
it's that to me. Well, when players love you and respect you and people like when they retire your jersey and it's Magic Johnson that comes like your biggest rival basically, but you're friends. There's so much respect for him. It's because it's not just because he's a great player.
Yes, I agree. But
he's
I
a
would
good
also,
guy.
And for anybody who still thinks that LeBron James, listen, athletically, yes, LeBron is better than Larry Bird, but that doesn't completely define what a basketball player is. And I would say that if the game is on the line and you need somebody to make a big play, especially a big shot, who are you going with, LeBron James or Larry Bird?
Larry Bird.
And if you pick LeBron James, please do, because I'll take Larry Bird. So
he'll tell you exactly where it's going to go.
Yep. No question. And so what I think is interesting here about what this councilman is saying that everybody showed up. And you would think, okay, that's great. But unfortunately, this is, again, another anomaly in politics. We've been to enough town halls and meetings where 5 to 10 people show up. You've got hundreds of people here.
That could never happen here. That would never happen here in South Florida, maybe in Orlando, but not down here.
Well, even if it could happen, the point is the average person in this country is not involved in politics the way that they need to be. That's the difference. If we lived in a country where thousands of people in a given community were constantly focused on what their elected officials were doing or who they were being bought off by, there's no way that this would work because it would be a community outreach situation where they would elect people that actually cared. There was a great candidate for mayor of Hollywood, Florida, and she couldn't win because I was one of the few people that actually went around knocking on doors with her. You needed hundreds of people doing it. And that mayor that is there is not only a Zionist, but he's developer money corrupt to the teeth. And so.
But you digress.
I do digress because if the people that are as active as they are here, if they were treating him the same way, then we wouldn't have the same problem.
But don't you understand? The reason that most people aren't involved is most people are struggling to live. So there is anybody who's even able to be involved, let alone you also have to have the knowledge of how it even works in some fashion to know where to go. And we're kept purposefully struggling and ignorant at the same time. So that's how come people don't participate.
Support that came out for this.
In a world where we are constantly being divided, everyone showed up tonight with a common goal and we won.
I've been like hoping that something would bring us together, and it looks like data centers are.
Power for the people, not for Google. Power for the people, not for Google.
Good.
For more of our coverage on Indiana's data center invasion, check out our latest YouTube video.
Yeah. This is going to be an increasing problem, people. We need to really be like aware of what's going on, what's being built around us, and what's happening to other people. Like if you're not watching Jordan over on Status Coup, you really need to watch there.
Yeah,
you
make sure that
need to make sure you know what's going on in these other places, because yeah, it might start with the vulnerable people. That should bother you enough, but it's going to get everywhere. We are going to run out of fresh water. There's going to be a big water problem. And these data centers for more increasingly complex AI or whatever that is, I know I do not understand it, but I know that whatever we're doing is requiring more and more and more and more energy and more water. So that is happening. It's going to be causing damage to people physically. We're not supposed to be around that. Whatever that is that's producing that, again, I'm not a science person, but it's not good for us. Whatever is coming out of their pipes, that's not good for us. And these centers are now taking so much water in very water vulnerable places. And we need to be very aware of this. And it's very frustrating.
You don't have to tell me.
It's infuriating.
Yeah, no, it is infuriating. And this is, again, why we do what we do. We know that these are crossing the Rubicon type of topics, but we do what we have to do. And that is why, if you are so inclined and you are enjoying this content, please go to patreon.com/revolutionary change for as little as $5 a month. You can become a supporter of our small but mighty and growing channel. And it does seem, with the rate of growth that we are going on right now, even so much as tonight's live stream, we are now—
Hold on one second. Hold on. Colin, can you send the link again to Matthew? For some reason, he says the link isn't working.
61,300.
Or Rachel, or somebody help me.
61,373 subscribers are here already. Now, I have to say, as of this moment, and I do have to check, I do want to make sure we right now, guys, I don't know how we only have 306 likes. Can you please smash that like button? It would be tremendously appreciated. And so, welcome, Joseph Price. Thank you for becoming a YouTube member. We really appreciate you being here. We will always give shout outs to everybody that gives any type of contribution, no matter how big or small. You are tremendously appreciated. And again, this is a revolutionary community. So with rare exception, no matter where you stand politically, economically, you are welcome in our chat. We want to have everybody here, because the only way we're getting out of this hellhole, and let me assure you, the one thing that I noticed, there was a gentleman that came on that commented on one of our clips today and said, you know, I voted for Trump all 3 times. I cannot believe how I was duped, and this, that, and the other thing. The Democrats are not the answer. And I just responded. I said, you cannot vote your way out of this. That's not happening. This is a revolutionary period that we're living through, where people of all stripes in the political arena are going to have to come together and figure out how we're going to get out of this mess. The first step, in my opinion, is breaking our unholy alliance with the genocidal state of Israel. My opinion. Piano Man, great to see you as always. Play us a song if you will, but $10 for a super sticker is—
You know that's Rachmaninoff.
Oh, of course I knew that's who it was.
Well, he told us. I had asked Piano Man. The only reason I know is because I had asked him.
What was his name again?
Rachmaninoff.
Rachmaninoff. Oh, he sounds like a Russian guy who probably knows how to play a mean tune on the piano. Am I right about that?
Yeah, I'm waiting to see if Piano Man confirms that I am right and remembered that correctly, that is who that is, but I think so.
Elaine Odd Socks. Thank you for the £3. Thank you for your work. Solidarity from the UK.
Yes, Rachmaninoff. Yeah, that's what somebody says.
And thank you very much for this very international flavor of a channel that we now have.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, the great thing about having such an international flavor of a channel is that we're probably never at a loss now for suggestions of where to travel if the opportunity ever was to present itself. So having that international flavor matters a lot. And as I said, we are very grateful for each and every one of you that are here this evening. And so
Jessica, they're vintage shutters. They're all vintage shutters. And then this was Chip's late dog, who Chip is one of our like OG supporters. And this was his late dog. But
Chip's been with us when we were very small.
Yeah. And I haven't seen him on here in a while. I mean, I don't know if he's traveling for work or whatever, but yeah, they're just vintage shutters from all different places.
And for the 450 of you that are here right now, if you haven't done so as of yet, please make sure that you are subscribed to Revolutionary Change. Again, it's Revolutionary Change on both Spotify as well as Rumble. So make sure if you can get over there, that would be very much appreciated. So Revolutionary Change on Rumble and Spotify. So please make sure if you can just hop over to hit that subscribe button, that would be very much appreciated. Do we want to play the clip before Matt gets here?
We can. I mean, I don't know what it's like. Normally he's so on it. I wonder, like, and it also doesn't make, oh, there he is. Okay. I was going to say, like, if it was like Dennis, I'd think, okay, he probably has a tech problem or whatever, but, not Matthew. Matthew's not going to have tech problems. I don't think so.
Well, needless to say,
but Matthew, let's bring him in because he had a faulty link and I feel bad about that. So we're going to be talking with Matthew Hoh tonight. And I don't even remember all his credentials. I don't even remember. He's a Marine.
I remember a few.
He's a Marine. He worked in the State Department. He's a director at the Eisenhower Network, which are some of our favorite people. And he's just really cool. So we have some questions for him. And he's in a new documentary that I just watched called Bodyguard of Lies. And we'll talk about that. Let's bring him on and then we could show the trailer.
Welcome for the first time to Revolutionary Change.
Isn't that crazy?
I didn't realize you guys changed the name. Maybe that was the problem. I was looking.
Is that what it was? Because
the problem was on my end. It wasn't on your end. It was
okay.
I had to restart my computer and turn my VPN off. And the fact that I'm using a VPN, like it's just a matter. It's just surprising that every day I can get online and do anything if I'm like, but anyway, no, it was on my side, so I apologize.
Okay, it's all good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're here, but I don't think of it in terms of that this is your first time on here because you've obviously been on a lot, but I wasn't. The idea of transforming politics into service just wasn't sitting with me anymore. So I'm kind of more like lighting a match kind of mood is more the vibe, and so that's why we're Revolutionary Change.
Okay, I like it.
I'm like we're not voting our way out of this shit. Like it's not happening.
Matt.
Yeah.
Oh, please.
Oh, I was gonna say I agree. I agree with you.
Yeah. Let's talk about the movie, Peter.
Well, no, hold on. I don't think we should do that just yet.
Okay.
Since obviously our chat, listen, we've had Matt on when we were getting, 30, 40 people to coming into a stream. We now have, we've been dancing with over 500 live stream viewers tonight so far. So yeah. Matt, I would like to share with the audience what your experience was like trying to transform politics into service in the great state of North Carolina. What was that like?
Hang on, let me go get the whiskey bottle out of the cabinet. Right, it was, like in many ways putting your face into the fan that everybody warned you about. Running as an independent or a third party was just you are going up against a great giant wall. You are going up against a Leviathan. You are going up against an establishment and a ruling class.
Big, beautiful wall. Just say it the right way. It's a big, beautiful wall.
So ridiculous.
No, I mean, but that was the case, though, right? In a sense that you were going up against the ruling class. Yes. And it doesn't mean, and that is the perfect term that we don't use enough because it ensconces the entirety of it, right? It ensconces the political parties, the media, the banks, the corporations. This is the ruling class, the power elite, as C. Wright Mills called them, right? and to try and disturb that status quo, you are just going to get, at best, malevolent inattention or ignoring of you, or outright attacks. And in my case, trying to run as the Green Party candidate for the U.S. Senate in 2022 in North Carolina, we had a criminal fraud instituted against us, a collusion of the governor's office and the North Carolina State Board of Elections, the North Carolina Democratic Party, the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, and the major media here in North Carolina, where we were accused of committing fraud in order to get onto the ballot. We did not commit fraud. We weren't, I mean, come on, you can accuse us of a lot of things, of being organized to pull something like that. You know, I mean, we truly were a grassroots effort, like a handful of us trying to get onto the ballot, trying to like get some type of political, independent politics going on here in North Carolina, giving people options, all the things that we say we want. Let's try and do that. Let's try and institute that here. Can we get it done? And we did it. We got on the ballot, and what came down on us was a ton of bricks. We had to go through. We had to file suit. We ended up in the federal court. Et cetera, to make a long story short, I'm 3-0 in federal court against the Democratic Party. 1-0 in state court against the Democratic Party.
Love that.
But including a settlement with the North Carolina State Board of Elections, as well as a judgment against the North Carolina Democratic Party for damages, which in cases like ours is entirely unheard of oftentimes, because we won, we got on the ballot. But, it was so egregious, the fraud that was committed against us in such an orchestrated and, deliberate manner, that the federal courts found damages against the North Carolina State Democratic Party for trying to keep us off the ballot. I mean, so that was just, and I can get into all the different, you guys are great. You had me on a bunch of times because really was like a television series that we were in the midst of. The Democratic Party was impersonating state officials, going to people's homes to try and get them to remove their names from the petitions they signed to have us on the ballot. I mean, all kinds of stuff, like all kinds of just, wow, this is really occurring. But that was, longer than anyone probably wanted to hear, but that was the sum and total of the experience. And then it got us a lot of media attention because we were on NPR quite often. It blew up in the faces of the Democratic Party in a lot of ways, but they've got so much money, and there's such, again, this is such a Leviathan you're up against. They really don't care. Like our attorney, when he was in court, the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee's lawyers came down from DC. They came in to the court here in North Carolina. They're part of the Elias law group. Many people are probably familiar with that name. He's a top lawyer for the Democratic Party. And but our lawyers said, like, when they came in court, it was like a scene of a TV show. Like 10 or 12 of them come marching into the courtroom, right? And like the shine coming off of their shoes and off of their hair pomade, or, and they're all in $3,000 suits. And they've got so much money, they don't have to be competent. I mean, they were incredibly incompetent in the way they'd handled this, but it didn't matter, and then, so we got onto NPR, we were on all types of media. And then when it was done and we were on the ballot, the media stopped talking to us at all. And the most telling exchange I had with a journalist was about a week before the election, when he actually did call me for a story, and he put me and the Libertarian candidate like in paragraph 13 of his story. We each got a second, right? But he said to me, he said, I'm sorry we didn't talk to you. I know you're a good guy doing the right thing here and everything, but the reality is you're not going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars on our network. So why are we going to talk to you? Right?
Yes. That's what they care about.
That's it. I mean, that is the reality of it. You have the establishment, the ruling class, a status quo that wants to protect itself. And so any threat to it, regardless of who it is, they are going to link arms and put it down, So, the idea that you're saying there, Jen, about electoral politics is, I don't want to say it's futile in the sense that we also show our hands up in the air and just go start playing video games and huffing paint and doing whatever else. I mean, what we want to do, is create the conditions to put political pressure on the ruling class to have to change. But that's not going to come at the ballot box with the conditions that we have now. You can argue and point to various successes that have been had. Certainly there are local level successes. I'm not going to take that away. But the idea that somehow we're going to vote our way to Medicare for all, or vote our way to reducing or doing something about this ruinous and cruel wealth inequality that we have. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to give up their power. They're just through a process that they control, because that's the whole thing, is that they control the process. And I'm blanking on who said it, right? But the quote is, if voting mattered, they won't let you do it.
It's true. And we're not getting anywhere. We know that, like, what percentage of people are represented in policy? Like 1%. Look at some ridiculous number. So we know that that's not going to help us.
No,
nothing has ever happened this way.
Yeah, we've all been beaten over the head with the various studies, right, that show that public opinion doesn't move policy, voting doesn't move policy, money moves policy.
Yeah.
Yep. And so what can you tell us about this documentary that we're about to play a clip on, Bodyguard of Lies?
We have to really switch hats. Okay, so we're going to switch from Matthew, former U.S. Senate candidate, to Matthew, Marine Corps badass. Okay, do that part. Do that.
I just love how enthusiastic and supportive you guys are.
Blushing. Look at you. You're funny.
Anyway, this film is from Alex Gibney, is the producer. Many people from award-winning producer, and then Dan Krause, an award-winning director. It's called Bodyguard of Lies. It is an examination of the 20 years of American occupation of Afghanistan, and how through all four presidential administrations that oversaw that occupation, there was a systemic and deliberate utilization of lies, deceit, half-truths, etc., to either gain public support for the war, maintain public support for the war, or justify escalation for the war. And then, of course, when it was, the escalation did not work, hide the war from the American people. And so it is a great 90 minutes that covers a lot. It is a terrific entry point for people who are not familiar with the war or may have forgotten it. And it's available on Paramount Plus to stream.
All right.
Let's watch the trailer.
We know the history of military conflict in Afghanistan.
Hurry up.
Long years of floundering and ultimate failure. We're not going to repeat that mistake.
2002, Donald Rumsfeld dictates out a memo saying, how are we going to get out of Afghanistan? And he ends it with one word: help! Exclamation point. Completely at odds with what the public had been told.
Privately, people were saying this war was a total disaster.
This is off the record.
But we offered anonymity to people who couldn't speak the truth publicly.
We were never going to succeed.
This isn't going to work.
The White House says we're winning the war, but in these interviews, it's clear we're not winning.
We are winning this war.
What bull?
Officials were under pressure to report only good news.
This goal is achievable.
But people knew the war could not be won.
Every measurable activity is failing.
We're spending $300 million a day for 20 years.
25% is being stolen, and it's ending up in the hands of the insurgents. Corruption, bribery, stealing. And the embassy said, oh, don't go down that road. Don't go down that road? How about fixing the problem?
There was this exaggeration after exaggeration of what we accomplished, and it went all the way up to the president.
We have liberated village after village.
We broke the Taliban's momentum.
We are winning responsibly, deliberately, and safely.
They're lying to you.
They didn't care about what the reality of this war was. They cared about whether or not their narrative was going to be upset by somebody speaking to the press.
Sometimes the truth is so precious it must be accompanied by a bodyguard of lies. I don't want to be quoted on this.
Sure. Yeah, so I watched it and I thought it was great. Um, I am someone who went into that knowing it was bullshit when we went into it. Now I didn't know the details of how and why it was bullshit, but I knew it was bullshit. I knew there were no weapons of mass destruction in the first place. Like I knew it all stunk to me from the very beginning. But the thing that I had no idea about was the internal corruption that was going on there, how they were using us to get at each other. And that to me was a whole, I'm assuming it's a tribal thing.
Oh, there was, there's so many different angles on that.
Yeah.
One, when we first go into Afghanistan, we're desperate to take Al-Qaeda prisoners, and we put out bounties. And roughly the first 700 or so detainees that we took in 2001, in October 2001, when we first went to Afghanistan, we ourselves did not capture. They were captured by Afghans and turned over to us with a bounty. Now, this was a place that had been going through civil war since the 1970s. So very easy for enemies to say, this guy's Al-Qaeda. And when I was there in 2009, I remember that was a joke. And walking one time up on a couple of Afghan colleagues, and they were bickering or arguing about something. And the one guy pointed at the other guy and said, he's Al-Qaeda, give me money. And that's from that beginning, that then you can imagine how that explodes, how that extrapolates. And, there was a war, as I said, there was a war that had been going on for decades, and it was divided among sectarian lines, whether it be urban and rural, whether it be modern or traditional, religious or secular, and then along ethnic lines, really dividing the Pashtuns, who were a plurality of the population, about 40%, with the remainder of the population. But they themselves were also divided, right? So it wasn't like a 40-60 split. It was a 40-60 split. And at 60% was divided 15, 20, 18%, et cetera. So, you went into essentially jumped into the way I had a friend describe it to me years ago, with regards to the 9/11 attacks and everything, was that, say you're walking down the street and a bottle flies out of a bar and hits you in the head, and then you run into that bar and there's this one big bar fight and you jump in the middle of it. In many ways, that's what occurs in 2001. In other ways, you could say, no, what we did was we took one side out of power in this long running civil war, put another side into power, and never addressed any of the political issues going on. And then when that other side went into power, a side that was dominated by warlords and drug lords, who have been our friends who have been fighting the Soviet Union in the decades previous, then they used us to go after their enemies. I mean, so you just had cycle after cycle, but then you also had, I remember one time we had a suicide bombing in the province I was in the Northeast, and local politician was killed. And the Taliban immediately claimed credit, said that's what the puppet of the Americans deserved. We got him. We said, of course, it's the Taliban. Of course, they would do something so dastardly as that. And then it turned out, no, it wasn't the Taliban. It was just a rival tribe that had been in a long running fight that went back not decades, but generations. And so you had those dynamics as well. But the scale and the scope of the corruption that was so clear is just really unimaginable. And I don't know if I can tell you a story. I mean, the drug trade is really something that is, people recall, we had to be there because the Afghan Taliban were narco terrorists. They were involved in this narcotics terrorism nexus. Right?
Aren't we the narco terrorists?
And it turns out that's to give away the ending of my story, Jen. There you go.
I'm sorry.
You just spoiled the whole thing for everybody. But exactly, that was the case. Afghanistan, just to give a little history on this, Afghanistan didn't produce poppies that produce then opium, right? That makes heroin and everything else. they didn't produce it in any quantity for an export as an industry prior to the 1980s. And then what happens in the 1980s is that the American Central Intelligence Agency and the Pakistani Intelligence Services, the ISI, are running, along with the Saudis too, are running this war using the reactionary religious fundamental organizations known as Mujahideen to fight the Soviet Union in Afghanistan. So the CIA and the Pakistani ISI, there's poppy crops in Pakistan that are left over from what? From the British Opium Wars. Okay, the British had grown these crops of poppies, right, in the 19th century, which they then, of course, used to create a horrible drug epidemic in China to force an economy. And that resulted in the Opium Wars and just absolutely horrible, horrible stuff. Anyway, these crops that are the leftover from that, the CIA and the ISI bring them into Afghanistan to create a cash crop. So for the Mujahideen, for revenue to fight the Soviet Union. These Mujahideen warlords thus become drug lords. And then what you have is when the Soviet Union departs in 89, the Afghan government, communist government collapses a few years later, the civil war occurs. There's also a huge explosion in poppy growth, opium exports, etc., so that Afghanistan becomes the world leader. The Taliban take power. They get rid of all that. By the time we go in Afghanistan in 2001, the narcotics industry in Afghanistan is gone. It doesn't. What do? We take the Taliban out of power. Who do we put back into power? Those warlords and drug lords. And now they've got the backing of the United States. And these are not minor people. There's a guy named Marshal Fahim who became head of the Afghan military. He was the biggest or second biggest drug lord in the north of Afghanistan. When you give a guy like that planes and helicopters, what do you think he does with them? Right? The biggest drug lord in southern Afghanistan, and maybe potentially at that point, the biggest drug lord in the world, was a guy named Ahmed Wali Karzai. And everyone knows the last name Karzai because his half-brother was the president of Afghanistan. So you had the president of Afghanistan, whose half-brother, who's also the governor of Kandahar, the second largest province after Kabul, was the biggest drug lord in Afghanistan, potentially the world. But my favorite story is we had this program called the Governor's Eradication Fund. $10 million to any Afghan governor who substantially reduces poppy crops in his province. The guy in Nangarhar province is a guy named Gul Aga Shirzai. Shirzai had run Kandahar when the Taliban rose up. He was essentially the warlord who was the worst thing in the world for the people of southern Afghanistan, that they backed the Taliban into power, right? So, of course, as soon as we get the Taliban out of power, we put this warlord back into power. He eventually becomes governor of Nangarhar, which is an important province in the east, and his family still has their poppy fields, their drug fields in the south, right? So with this $10 million ratification effort, what does Shirzai do as the governor? He essentially muscles his competition. He tells all the poppy growers in Nangarhar, which is the second or third largest grower of poppies in the country, he says to him, either you cooperate with me or I'm going to get rid of your fields, right? So what happens? They either cooperate or he brings in the American DEA, the Afghan government, and he gets rid of his competition. And for either co-opting his competition or rubbing them out, we give this drug lord $10 million in cash every year. And that was the reality of the Afghan war. Yeah.
Let me ask you, what did you think you were doing there when you were there?
I thought I was there as a political officer of the State Department in 2009 to try and bring about a peace in the way that we have brought down violence in Iraq through political efforts. So in Iraq, if people recall, 2006, 2007, you have what's called the Sunni Awakening, which essentially was, okay, we understand what you're saying, what's going on here to the Sunnis. You feel usurped and you feel occupied, completely justified because it's completely correct. What we're going to do is we're going to give you back your provinces. We're going to give you back your cities. We're going to pull the Shia and the Kurds, those security forces, out of your areas. We're going to give you your people and your land back. We're going to cut you back into power, cut you back into the oil revenue, et cetera, et cetera. And that overnight in Iraq, by doing that, drop the violence. It was spooky how quickly the violence dropped and how quickly the Sunni insurgency turned over the Al-Qaeda and foreign jihadists that were there. And there weren't very many of them. I mean, 97, 98% of the insurgents that we fought, or the resistance fighters, I should say, the resistance that we fought in Iraq were Iraqis. The amount of foreign fighters that came there, besides us, we were foreign fighters that came there, was minimal. And so I thought we were going to be doing the same thing in Afghanistan, because remember, there's this split in Afghanistan. It's a long-running civil war. And by a time in 2009, this had really coalesced as a war of the Pashtuns in the south and the east versus the rest of the country. And that's who the Taliban's constituency was. And so I really did think I was going there to conduct negotiations, essentially, to do similar to what we did in Iraq, because that's what our leadership was saying. That's essentially what David Petraeus says in the fall of 2008. That's what we're going to do in Afghanistan. What occurs, of course, is the Obama administration comes in, and they are no different than the Bush administration, the Republicans. They see military victory as a huge political benefit. They believe that they believe the idea of Barack Obama as a stronger and better commander-in-chief than George W. Bush will ensure re-election in 2012. You know, you go back to what Karl Rove said to George W. Bush in 2002. Wartime presidents get reelected, and that was essentially what you saw occur. No, we're not going to negotiate. We're not going to settle. We're going to win this thing. You know, I mean, the escalation of the war, and just to remind people how big of an escalation of the war it was, when Barack Obama comes into office in January of 2009, there's 30,000 American troops, about 15,000 NATO troops, and about 30,000 contractors in Afghanistan. A year and a half later, so summer of 2010, there are 100,000 American troops, 40,000 NATO troops, and 100,000 contractors. You're talking, we had a 250,000 man army in Afghanistan in 2010, 2011, 2012. I mean, that's how big the war was. We were spending $120 billion a year. And, you know, it didn't work. And it was never going to work. And why, you know, I mean, so essentially you're just at that point throwing fuel onto the fire. Again, these were not insurgents. They were resistance fighters. They were people who were fighting foreign occupation, as well as what they understood as a corrupt and predatory government, because it was a corrupt and predatory government.
Matt, I don't understand how anyone thinks that American empire is going to be able to be sold going forward. I think we look around at so many of the service members, particularly yourself, who served in the Middle East during the early 2000s. And now we're seeing the after effects of that with the rejection of all-out war, particularly in Ukraine, what's been going on in Yemen. People obviously have been addressing at great length the civil war that's going on in Sudan. Of course, we know what they've done to places like Somalia and, of course, Syria. And now we are seeing everything come to a head in Gaza. And it would appear that not just the way that the masses are rejecting the unholy alliance between Israel and the United States, that this relationship must be severed, but it would also appear that on the domestic side, things are getting pretty dicey, to say the least. Mm-hmm. And if you're okay with it, I do want to, Jen, I think it would be appropriate to talk with Matt about this this topic regarding Charlie Kirk, in particular, what the narrative was that they were selling to the American people about how he was killed, what type of weaponry was used, and your fellow Marines, whether it was our friend CanCon or anybody else, came out immediately and said, whatever this story is that they're selling, it's not true.
It can't be true.
Yeah, I haven't really paid that much attention to it, to be honest.
Good for you.
To me, it looks like a guy who got shot in the throat and bled out, and that's what happens. I mean, it seems pretty straightforward to me, but I have not been the details.
No,
I know a lot of people that I respect are very suspicious of the narrative. I just haven't paid attention to it. I think I've been so off put by the fact that we now have a national day of mourning for a guy who was a hateful, racist bigot who happened to get shot in the throat. You know, I'm against political violence. I'm a free speech absolutist, so certainly against violence against speech, right? But I also see no reason to celebrate a life that was dedicated to division, hate, bigotry. But it's almost as if we're watching a playbook here, right? It's almost, and people, lots of people have said this, right? That this makes sense in the unfolding drama that we were, gosh, if this was a Netflix TV show, we'd all be watching it, right? You know?
Yeah. But
you
these
know,
things
and
all
so, yeah.
repeat. Look at what, like that movie, like when I was watching that, your movie, well, it's not your movie, Bodyguard or Flies. I mean, you did a really good job in it, but when I'm watching that, I'm just saying, like, this is no different to me than like the Pentagon Papers. I feel like we've been doing it over and over, and it's this to me with Charlie Kirk, the JFK similarities in terms of like the connection with the Zionist state and all of these things are very real. So it's weird to me to think that it's what they say it is. Like, I don't know what it is, but I know for sure it's not what they're saying it is.
Yeah. I
That's
understand
what
that.
I know.
Yeah. And like I said, I haven't followed enough. I know there's controversy about the weapon. I don't know. I've seen a lot of
people test it. And by the way, my father, who, I mean, yeah, he has firearms, but he's hardly somebody that really knows this. When I told him what it was supposedly they used, he's like, well, then his whole neck would have, like his whole head would have blown off. Like my dad just knew that, right?
I mean, I've seen a bunch of different, I've seen not a lot of gunshot wounds, but a good amount of gunshot wounds. And like, there can be differences from the same type of round, you know, for I've seen a 7.62 round do different things at different parts of the body, and probably based upon elevation, angle of entry, velocity, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I don't know. And I don't know that stuff at all. I just know that the drama and the theatrics are exactly what, you know, a guy like Stephen Miller would stay up late at night fantasizing about, right? You know, just give us the reason to, and that's why I think on the left, we have to be so careful about not giving them a reason. I mean, that doesn't mean we don't act, we don't resist, but we also have to recognize our strengths here, our limitations, our weaknesses, and we are not an organized left.
No.
All the guns are on the other side, first of all. So,
which is
right.
why that's the revolution. The revolution is happening because they have finally pissed off the red team, and the red team are armed, and that's where it's coming from. We're never going to get an uprising on the left, which is why when somebody says that I was a radical leftist, I'm like, have you seen the left? They do not have their shit together. Are you kidding me? The radical left. Yeah, a single shot through the neck. Who in the radical left is doing this?
Right. There's a great Onion headline: FBI finds left-wing organizations too disorganized to infiltrate. You know?
Exactly.
Well, I think that this,
right, exactly.
Yeah. And I think this brings up a very good point, because collective organizing, the one thing that universally, I think anybody who's in the chat, anybody who follows our channel, and again, we have a very healthy mix. We've got people all the way to the right, all the way to the left, and everything in between.
Yes.
The one thing that I think most people agree on right now is that elections really don't matter when you get right down to it if collective organizing is not involved. You can elect whoever you want, but if there isn't this aggressive movement towards the people taking back their country, as Thomas Jefferson always said was going to be whether or not this republic would survive. This is a great example of a story that we are going to get into that obviously would really like to have your opinion on. So our understanding now is that according to Democracy Now!, Microsoft, Bill Gates is, well, I don't know if he still has anything to say about it, but I think without question, one of the most powerful multinational corporations in the world has apparently pulled back their investment with Israel. And again, what was that?
Sorry. No, I meant to hit scroll down and I hit it by mistake.
The only way we will stop our organizing is once all of our demands are met completely. So hold on. Microsoft says it has barred the Israeli military from using the company's services to spy on Palestinian civilian phone calls and store their data in Microsoft's vast Azure cloud computing platform. It's an unprecedented victory for no Azure for apartheid. a group of current and former Microsoft workers demanding an end to Microsoft's work with the Israeli military. We spoke to Hassan Nasser, an organizer with No Azur for Apartheid and a former Microsoft employee. Nasser was fired last October after organizing a vigil outside the Microsoft headquarters for Palestinians killed by Israeli military in Gaza. Colin, if you would. No, you're fine. Yep. The clawback a sense of normalcy, of morality from these tech companies is vindicating to the organizing that we're doing and is a testament that we do not have to resign to the status quo. We do not have to resign to those people in power. We stand in solidarity with those workers in Amazon and all workers of conscience who are fighting in their workplace to ensure that they are not being used as cogs in the Israeli genocide war machine. So it appears that you fire somebody and then you essentially create a monster out of it. That's what it looks like on the surface. Thoughts?
Yeah, I'll say that that interview on Democracy Now! Is well worth listening to. Both parts. They did a second part with it. And, I think there's, we get caught up a lot in this idea of success or victories or having some type of metric when that's not why we're doing this. You guys have been doing this for a long time. I've been in the anti-war movement now for 16 years or whatever it is. If it was about getting wins, if it was about having success, right, then we do this because it's the right thing to do, right? We do this because the alternative is to be on your knees to these people, right? Yeah. So I think that's the first thing we because there's a lot of with this, as far as I understand, with this victory, in an interview, he explains, this is actually kind of minor. It's not that big a deal. It's only one segment of the Israeli, it's with Unit 8200, their version of the NSA. So it is a big deal, but there's a lot of other avenues that Microsoft is working with the Israeli Defense Forces, Israeli security forces, the Israeli government. But, it's this idea that it's resistance for the sake of resistance, that it's these guys do what they did with Microsoft was for the because it was the right thing to do, not because they thought they would be successful, right? Not mean we don't want to be successful, but we have to keep that in mind. We do this as, generations going back eons have done similar things. So, that's what I take away from it.
This is news to me. So, I wasn't really familiar with this whole story.
Well, it does seem like a pretty big one, if you ask me. And
yeah, it's a success. I don't want to say that. I just, in the sense of that, how we organize and why we do it. I think we have to keep that always in the forefront of how we talk, is that we do this because it's the right thing to do, because people are counting on us. I heard this, we still have our rallies here in Raleigh, North Carolina for Gaza. Have they done anything? No, they haven't done anything. But we do it because the resistance in Gaza asks us to, right? And there's no other reason to do it than that, right? So we do what we can. You guys do your show, you do your organizing, you inform, you educate, right? You do it for no other reason because it's the right thing to do, not for yourselves, but for others.
I couldn't agree more. Our channel blew up in the last few months because we were just kind of relentless about it. We've been relentless about it.
Our 5-year anniversary is coming up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And like I said, when you used to come on, it's been a little while since you've been on, but we just had a channel where we were doing this as a mission. The fact that we grew it without cutting corners, without just, trying to, catch whatever was the gossip topic of the day. Everything has always been framed for us more or less through the lens of Israel-Palestine and how this is the defining issue of our time. It's all interconnected in so many respects, and how we are able to make it so that we can have some type of an impact. I've said before, I'll say it again. I am of the mind that it is going to be very difficult for us to save the Palestinian people.
I'm with you, Peter. I'm with you. Absolutely. I mean, and our focus, of course, is on Gaza because the genocide is occurring there. But our focus in terms of planning, preparation, really needs to shift to the West Bank, because Gaza, God help me for saying this, may be gone, right? But the West Bank still has a chance. And so that's because the Israelis are going to do in the West Bank as they did in Gaza. It'll look different, but it'll be more or less the same goals, right? The same, I think, and they've said this, they eventually want to destroy Palestinian life outside of 5 or 6 cities, force everybody into those cities, and then let those cities die on the vine, and that's how the ethnic cleansing and the genocide will look like in the West Bank. And we have time to help the Palestinians in their resistance in a way that we can't with the people in Gaza right now. And I don't want to say Gaza's gone like that. That sounds terrible, but like, I think people know what I mean here in terms of what we can affect, what we can make a difference in, how we can be involved. And the work you're doing, when you're talking, it reminded me of when I was in Afghanistan. We had a big operation and brought in the commando, the Delta and the SEALs were going to come in. This was going to be a big operation, a big brigade-wide operation in Northeast Afghanistan. And at the top of the list of the guys that were going to get the Taliban and their allies that were going to be taken out on the first night in the first initial wave of raids were their, what we call information operations people, right? They're public relations people, they're propagandists, they're news people. That's who we were going to take out first. Not their bomb makers, not their financiers, but the most important thing for us to hit first was the people who did their communications. That's how important what you guys are doing is, right? And that's why what we've seen this, besides in the last 8 months of this regime here, of course, going after our Latino brothers and sisters. But what's the other focus been? It's been on speech, right? It's been trying to prep a way to shut all these things down. We just saw the TikTok purchase, sale, or whatever the heck that thing was. I mean, what do you think is going to happen on TikTok? And
I think everyone needs to leave TikTok. That's what I think.
And hopefully there's some smart guy or gal or group of folks wherever, in China, in Korea, in Kenya,
we know it won't be here.
Wherever, who are going to make the next TikTok, because there will be a next TikTok, right? I mean, so, but we see how fearful they are of these things. The fact that they, went to those lengths with TikTok, just use that example, to shut it down because it had such an effect on their control of the narrative. And we know this because they've said it. Whether it's the head of the ADL has said it, you had that conversation between Mitt Romney and Tony Blinken about 1.5 years ago, where they said it. We're shutting TikTok down because we can't control the narrative on it, right? I mean, like, you see the importance of what you guys are doing, and it's merging at this time. The fact that we have this technology now. I mean, 5 years ago to do this, it wasn't always that great, right? To do a live thing like this 5 years ago, 10 years ago, forget it. Right. I mean, like, you taped everything. 15 years ago. Now we were talking, I was calling you on a landline, even 10 years ago, we were dialing in on landlines, to do shows, because but we're at this point now where the technology has just gotten us to a place where your ability to have this influence, again, to educate, to inform, to coordinate is substantial, and it's significant, and it scares the hell out of them.
Yes.
Right? It scares the hell out of them. So yeah, I mean, the fact that you guys are doing well, I'm not surprised, because I love you guys. You guys are terrific, but it also comes at the right time. And you guys are saying stuff that people are recognizing, and that they're connecting with. You guys haven't said, I don't think you guys have said anything different in the last 5 years, right?
No, I've just gotten further to the left where I think I fell off on the other side. Like that's all that's happened is I've like migrated over and, but I mean, I just don't see that there can be a Zionist state any longer. Okay. That the entire state needs to be lanced like a boil is what I say. It can't exist like that. Now, where those crazy Zios can get relocated to, I don't know if they're working out a deal with Argentina. Hopefully they don't come here, and they certainly aren't going to go to where I'm moving to. But that needs to be a Palestinian state. And it will be eventually because the Zionists are going to fall. American hegemony is ending, and the whole world is done with us. You know that. They've had it with us. They're all conspiring. They're all working together, all sorts of alliances. They have a whole economic thing going on that we're not involved in. And I just don't see how we get to stay where we are.
Well, I mean, the idea of a multipolar world order is it's almost blasé now, right? I mean, like it's not coming. It's essentially here. We're in an early phase of it. The United States had such an opportunity following the Cold War, and we, for lack of not to, I can't say any better than this. We pissed it away because we were dickheads. I mean, like really, like that's where we were in the world, and what we could have done to maintain our position, right?
Yes,
we didn't.
No.
And so
because we're greedy, and we can't take care of ourselves anymore, and the world doesn't need us.
That's essentially it. We were greedy, and you can go and you can see whether it's the George H.W. Bush administration or in the Clinton administration. In those early years post Cold War, you had defense policy guidance documents that established American policy was to maintain primacy, was to maintain dominance, was to maintain hegemony, and through that we attacked and slaughtered and occupied and overthrew and sanctioned nearly the entire world. And
they've had it, right?
Right. And they've had it. So the only people who are going to be with us, to your point, I believe, are the Europeans.
They're useless. Let's be real.
And they don't have.
Hold on 1 second. I got to deal with Maurice. The big difference between me advocating for kicking the Ashkenazi Israeli Zios out of there is that they didn't belong there in the first place. There's a reason why they have exceptionally high skin cancer rates, because they're not meant to live in the Arabic region of West Asia. Second of all, the huge difference is that the Palestinians would be a majority there if not for the Zios importing people to subjugate so that they can maintain their white supremacy. So, yeah, I'm advocating for them to get the fuck out where they don't belong and go live somewhere else that is theirs. Go get your own little enclave. See, we should have given them a little piece of Germany back in the day. Right. And that would have at least been somewhat apropos. But here we are. But no, it is not the same thing. See, the Palestinians are from there. That's theirs. Sorry.
Go to send them all to Siberia. But, I
just don't want them near me. That's what I care about. That's why I'm leaving South Florida. I cannot be with these people around me anymore.
Well, the problem is it's such a terrible place we're in. And recall a year ago, the head of Shin Bet, which is the Israeli security service, similar to the FBI, roughly. He said his biggest fear was intra-Jewish violence. His biggest fear was terrorism within Israel. And you can see the schisms that exist within that society. Let alone all the external pressures, let alone the fact that they've committed themselves to a fortress Israel type of, it's a mentality that they possess. It's biblical, it's cosmic, right? It's the way they see the universe and the world, whether historical or current, whether it's the secular nationalist security types or the religious reactionary types. That's their worldview. It should be Israel against the world. So it all makes sense for them, particularly when they have a pipeline, a lifeline coming from the United States. That's all they care about. So they can be this super Sparta that Netanyahu describes, super Sparta with a huge asterisk next to it, that asterisk with a footnote saying the United States keeps them, alive. But the problem being is that for all of us, I think we should be concerned about is, do we want to see this small country that is led by genocidal maniacs who have the blessing and support of 70, 80% of the Israeli population.
Exactly.
Fall into that type of civil war, fall into that breakup or fracturing, particularly when they have between 100 and 500 nuclear weapons. I mean, so there's such dangers here as we go forward, where the decisions that have been made have just really, exponentially can blow apart into something that we would never want to even dream of.
Yeah.
On that note, we can only thank you enough for all of the amazing work that you do, and obviously coming on here. I want to leave on a very high note.
I'll be high shortly, so continue.
Yeah, well, somebody you know pretty well, fellow. Well, he's a Green Beret. He may not be Marine, but
he's a fellow. He's on our mission. We're all on this. We share a mission, and they probably share a lot more. But Anthony Aguilar.
Yeah, Tony. Yeah. I had the great pleasure of meeting him last week in person for the first time, and really, what a absolute honor that was. Yeah.
It's just I love I'm big into the cross pollination of the people, so it's sort of like I like you, I like him, we should all
Well, you've been saying
he lives like an hour from me too, so yeah.
Oh, there you go.
You've been saying since we've been doing this, whether a small or growing mighty channel, that it's all about spinning the web and creating these relationships and making sure that people are connected, because if we are going to make this possible, if we are going to break through, if you will, it's only going to happen if we put our differences aside. Everyone needs to recognize that everyone's going to have a different political opinion. And I would say Charlie Kirk is a great example of that. There are people who love him and there are people who can't stand him. But you know what we can all agree on? That guy had a lot of power and he decided to get out of line. And we saw what happens when you get out of line. No matter how big you are, if you think that there aren't people above you that will knock you down to size like anybody else, like an innocent Palestinian child, trust me, they will. And that is how you know the empire's collapsing. And so the more we collaborate, the closer we're going to get to that consensus. And so if you guys, maybe you are subscribed to Paramount Plus, maybe you're not.
But isn't it somewhere else too? Isn't it like what I thought I saw something that it was on YouTube.
You might be able to rent it on YouTube.
Okay.
Because I think you can rent it on Apple and Amazon and things like that.
So it's not free anywhere yet.
No, but you can do, and I don't work for Paramount, so you can.
No, it's not.
But I was gonna say you can subscribe to Paramount for a week, get your free trial, and then unsubscribe. So.
It will eventually be out there. All things make their way out there where you'll be able to see it.
It really does. And again, just to put a plug in for it, it's a really great, I'll describe it this way. In the past, people would ask me, Matt, what book should I read to understand the Iraq and Afghan wars? And I'd always say there are two books, David Halberstam's The Best and the Brightest, and Neil Shahane's A Bright Shining Lie. Both those books were about Vietnam. But if you read them, you would understand the American wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. In the same way, if you watch this film, spend 90 minutes, particularly with somebody who's not so familiar with it, good entry point for them, you will understand other American wars. You will understand Gaza. You will understand Ukraine. You will understand Venezuela, potentially, wherever else. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same playbook. I mean, and we're going into countries that we drew fake lines around anyway. And more than 40% of the borders were made by England and France, and Afghanistan shouldn't even be a country. It's so many different tribes. The whole thing is like the white people really screwed shit up.
It's the effects of colonization, right? Just continue.
Oh, stop it, Peter. Don't say what you're going to say.
What's he going to say?
He's going to probably call me wokey.
You are a wokey, but that's not the point. The point is that you say it's a white problem. No, what it is a elite ruling class problem.
It's more than that. It's it's Western Euro domination, world colonialism, which is white supremacy. So yes, it's a white thing.
Yes. And what is the common denominator that a lot of them have? They have control of the banking system. And if you really want to understand, again, that's a whole other can of worms. But at the end of the day, we are living in a world where the average person who doesn't even follow politics is becoming aware of what's really going on here. And when that starts to happen and the average person starts to lose faith in their government, that means that change is going to come. It's inevitable. Once you lose faith, you're not getting it back.
I was ahead of average. I lost faith in the government in the 3rd grade, refused to say the Pledge of Allegiance, still won't say it. And yeah, so I've been ahead of the curve on that.
Yeah, I think the phrase that I've come back to using is ruling class, because it incorporates all of it, right? Yeah.
It's true. It's a class war.
Yeah.
We know it.
Yeah.
Check out
Bodyguard of Lies.
Bodyguard of Lies. I almost said Body of Lies. I said Bodyguard of Lies. Make sure that you check it out if you can. And yes, spend the few bucks if you can to Google on YouTube and check it out, because our esteemed guest is a part of it. And he probably says a few things about me.
He's a star.
Stupid things that I have to do. I was in charge.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a big Hollywood deal now. Yeah. Hollywood Matt Hoh is what they call me. Yeah.
All right, Ho.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. Hey, I'm really
so
pleased to
much.
hear. I'm really pleased to be back with you. Hope to see you guys again soon.
Oh yeah.
And,
You know, for a while you've
congratulations
been
on your
traveling
success.
to like ancestral homes, and I had to go, like, I can't even tell you how long of a hiatus without seeing your face on Judge Knapp. And not that I mind my true love, because everybody knows is Larry Wilkerson, but like, I be still my heart for that man. It's the accent and the corny sense of humor together. But it's really good to see you.
It's good to see you guys. All right.
Guys,
Have a good night, guys.
You too, brother. One of the great guys. And again, anybody who puts their lives on the line for this country understand that that takes a certain level of fortitude that most people do not have. And I do think that there is a level of jealousy that comes with that. But, you know, that's why somebody like Matt is afforded a platform, as he should be, and an opinion that he should be. It is great to know that him and Anthony know each other and have connected. And again, if we even play
It's
any
the cool kids club.
yes.
For all the
Well,
cool
maybe we'll
kids
get
hanging
invited to the table one time. You know, we have been harping on this topic quite a bit about how we have to sever this relationship with Israel. And the reason we say it is because, as Jen has pointed out time and again, Israel is us and we are Israel. And so this is what is considered in Judaism, not this fake shit that they're pulling, but they have used it as a weapon to do so. So in the Jewish faith, this is considered the High Holy Week between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, which
Correct.
is in technically 3 days, but it's Thursday. And so Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, I guess, Jen, what would be the best way that you could describe what the holidays represent and what they're supposed to be?
Well, Rosh Hashanah is the new year. So Shana Tova. And 10 days after the new year, right? I believe it's 10 days. But again, it's a lunar calendar and we are on the solar calendar here. So that's why if you are paying attention, you will see that when you look at our regular calendar, the Jewish holidays all seem to fluctuate because they're on a lunar calendar. So it's Rosh Hashanah is the new year. And then 10 days later, I do believe it's 10 days later, is Yom Kippur. And that's the Day of Atonement. So that's the day that everybody goes and basically atones for all their sins for the year, as opposed to like Catholics doing confession or, you know, regularly. It's just it's a different form of atonement. And on Yom Kippur, people generally that practice will fast from sundown the night before, which is the eve before, until the eve after the sun goes down on the day. And then there'll be usually like a spread at someone's house called a break the fast. And and it's like it closes. And then there's other holidays that are sort of in the periphery, like there's Simchat Torah and there's Tish B'Av and then there's like, or Tu B'Shavat. And I mean, there's a whole bunch, but those are the two main high holidays. But and I, as a kid, I always found it so interesting. And I grew up in a very insulated Jewish community in North Miami Beach. And it was always so interesting to me. You know, you would have basically people going and atoning once a year and then go back to screwing over all their people for the rest of the year. But I'm not a practicing Jew.
Now, neither is the Reform Jews, typically anyway, but this is a very disturbing story that I came across. And I have been trying to explain to everyone who has been paying close attention to what the end game is going to be for the Zionist state. And so, Central Synagogue in New York City, which is probably one of the more noted Reform synagogues in the United States. The rabbi who is speaking here, her name is Sarah Berman.
I think she might be the first person who induct into Jen's hit list.
Well,
I mean, is she hit list worthy?
After you hear what she has to say, you'll probably agree.
Okay, so let's see if we can, christen our Jen's hit list.
No one is above being forced to be on the front lines if it means dying for this cause. So brace yourselves. This language is pretty disturbing.
The greatest lie humanity tells itself is that we have outgrown human sacrifice.
So right off the bat, she's letting you know that human sacrifice is not only something that isn't taboo, it's something that is very acceptable and should be practiced. And look at the cadre of listen, you want to talk about very white people. You see, when it comes to Israel and what they claim is theirs, these people that you see here are the biggest harbingers of the state of Israel.
How does he get that yarmulke to stay on his head? Like, is it like a suction cup? But yeah, this woman is now going to be my official person on what this was Rachel, my friend Rachel's idea, was that I should have a hit list. Except you can't make it very explicit, like that it's like something where you want to hurt people. So let me share. That's my hit list. So it's somebody that is worthy of a hit, of me needing one. And that's this bitch.
We call it by different names now and make our offering to different gods. We offer young men we call soldiers, as if the designation means that their mothers cry less when they die. We call masses of humanity collateral damage and turn our eyes away from the pictures of their lifeless bodies as we sip our morning coffee.
It's almost like she's saying it gleefully. What the fuck is that flag doing inside that synagogue?
That's common. That's common. And first of all, the fact that there's a female rabbi, it's a Reformed congregation, right? So in a Reformed congregation is where you're going to get the majority of your white Ashkenazi Zionist Jews. That's where the bulk of them will probably fall in this country, will be in a Reformed synagogue. So it makes sense.
And the truth is, we don't do it because we are heartless. We do it because we believe that it is necessary for the world to keep running.
So she wants you to go die for her cause, because if you don't, humanity will cease to exist. That's what'll happen.
Send your kids, lady.
Please.
Seriously.
Send them all. Why don't you send your mother, who's probably the woman standing right behind you? Why don't we send you? Why don't we send you?
Seriously.
I have always said that the reason why Teddy Roosevelt, to me, is the greatest commander-in-chief we've ever had is because, unlike pretty much anyone else in the history of our country, with the exception of Lincoln and Washington, actually was willing to go on the front lines to die for what he believed in. If he wanted you to fight for something, he'd fight right with you. That's why he was always known as the Rough Rider. These people will never put themselves in harm's way, but you better believe that they are all too ready, willing, and able to do it to you. You must die for this cause.
I'm disgusted. I'm so disgusted.
Yeah.
I'm just...
That's a hit. That's a hit list.
It's a definite hit. This is definitely somebody to be on my hit list, for sure.
We do it because we believe that the gods whose favor we so desperately seek, freedom, security, prosperity, flourishing, that they demand blood as the price of their favor.
This is why I don't do religion, because you're a sick fuck.
But you see, this is Pirate Justin has it right. This is Talmud shit. This isn't Torah stuff. This is not stuff like a lot of the Hasidic Jews that are anti-Zionist. They don't. This is not. They find this to be a violation of the Torah, what she's saying. Remember we had Rabbi Shapiro on here.
Yes. And again, I want to know when somebody is going to spew this type of demonic rhetoric and say, but I'm going to take up arms with you and I will go too. You see, that's not happening. You see, this woman probably lives a very comfortable life, and this is what she does for fun. She decided to become a rabbi. She probably has inherited a decent amount of money, married.
You know nothing about. I love how, like, Peter will come up with an entire scenario for someone. It reminds me, like, when I was little, my mom and I would be out eating or whatever, and we would always look at people and make up entire stories for them, just other people in a restaurant. That's kind of like you. Like, you know nothing about her. You know nothing about this woman. Nothing.
I don't need to know anything about her other than she's a sick fuck, and everyone in that room is a sick fuck who doesn't walk out the second they hear it. But unfortunately, this is where the whole concept of Jew hatred is really stemming from. It's stemming from people like her. That's where it's coming from.
Hey, guys in the chat, if when an ad comes up, it helps us if you let it play. But even if you don't, throw in there what kind of ads you're seeing. I'm just curious. Yeah. Because I don't ever get ads watching us live. So that's not anything I see. So I'm curious.
Well, I run it on my phone and I just let it play. But I will say that if it's for 15 to 30 seconds.
But do you get ads? I don't get ads.
Yeah, no, if the stream is running, then I'll just let it run. But what I'm saying is, if it's 15 to 30 seconds, if you do see the ads, that helps the channel grow, because that's how revenue is generated without you, having to give. And so, David Hunter, to anybody else who's in New York City, I am sure you are familiar with this synagogue, and I have no doubt that now you're really familiar with it and exactly what they think. So you know what I would do? You know what I would do, Jen, if I was in New York City? This is the synagogue that I would go and protest in front of. You want to draw attention to it?
Yeah.
You want to stand out there with the Palestinian flag? This is where you do it.
Where is this in New York?
It's in Manhattan.
Oh, it's in Manhattan. Okay.
So what I would suggest to anybody that wants to go and protest it, and they'll have, oh, you're anti-Semitic and you're this, that, and the other thing. And you know what I would say? I would say this: show them a clip from Revolutionary Change of what this fucking woman said. That's it.
Well, I don't mind being called. Yeah, but calling people anti-Semitic now, I just don't think it's really working anymore.
I agree.
I would also say to her, no, I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm anti-you. I'm anti-white Ashkenazi Zio or any Zio. That's what I'm anti. And by the way, most of them aren't even Semites.
No, look at them.
I know there's nothing Semitic about you, lady.
Yeah. Look, like I said, she can't live in Israel because the Sun don't like her very much. Could get away with it in New York, but not there.
Sophie is asking, is reform the same thing as revisionist Zionism? I am not completely certain what revisionist Zionism is, but I think the answer is completely no. Reform is, there are several, like I would say, mainstream sects of Judaism amongst Ashkenazi Jews. So amongst your New York Jews, your East Coast Jews, your North Miami Beach Jews, right? The white people. And you'll have those that are Orthodox, and then you'll have conservative, reform, and then there's also like Reconstructionist, and it's like that. But they are completely unrelated to the concept in theory of Zionism, other than Zionism has permeated many of those groups. But the ideology is completely unrelated. They're unrelated to each other.
Agreed.
Okay.
We do it because we cannot see any other choice. And maybe that's why we read the Akedah, the binding of Isaac, on Rosh Hashanah. Because the story of the Akedah isn't about inconceivable obedience. When Abraham prepares to sacrifice Isaac, he is just accepting the same bargain of blood we still accept today.
So what you're saying is that you're going to reference a Bible story from thousands of years ago that people just take on faith that Abraham sacrificed his son to his God. That's what you're saying. So because Abraham did that thousands of years ago, you should sacrifice your son and maybe daughter too to your God. So go and die for Israel is what she's suggesting. Fuck these people.
Yeah.
Fuck them right to fucking hell, even though they don't believe in it, but I'll still send them there anyway. We have to disassemble this relationship.
Evil people end up in it's like hell is your own sort of spiritual, like it's what happens to people that are just sort of evil souls, just beget evilness in their existence. You know what I mean?
And keep this in mind. And I want you all to listen very carefully here. Chelsea Clinton, 1000%, in my opinion, is going to run for Congress. And you know who's going to support her? These fucking people.
Yes.
That's who's going to support her. So keep that in mind when Jerry Nadler officially steps down from his seat and people are thinking about who's going to replace him. Because this is a generational change that's happening right now in New York City. So who do you think it's going to be? Well, if it's Hillary, if it's Chelsea Clinton, then these people are going to give her a lot of money.
They will, and I still think she won't win. I think that name is really toxic and poisonous to most people, and younger people really don't have a frame of reference one way or the other. And I just think that their whole brand is dead. The only reason that Hillary keeps rearing her head out is she still owns the party. So at the end of the day, she can do what she wants. And also, I mean, she is former Secretary of State, former Senator, former First Lady. So, I mean, she still gets to stick her head out, but no one wants a new one of you all. We don't even want the ones that we're stuck with now.
Maybe, but we are dropping a clip at the top of the hour regarding Hillary Clinton and how she is trying to make another power grab by taking control of USAID and running it through the Clinton Global Initiative.
Oh, so now you're combining two criminal enterprises together. Oh, that's brilliant.
Oh, yes.
That's like some sinister shit. You're taking your money laundering operation and combining it with another. Fucking brilliant.
Like I said, I don't really care if she spews this bullshit. The reason I have a problem with it is that these are the people that control our government in this country. She absolutely has her congregation funding AIPAC, funding all of these Israel lobby NGOs. This is where this happens. And I'm not saying it's everywhere in the country, but I can assure you, as the day is long, that is what this congregation does. No one talks like this unless they're putting their money where their mouth is, and you better fucking believe that they're doing that.
Here, answer this question. So we've tried to bring Max on. You know, I know Max. I've met Max. Peter knows Max, has met Max. I don't know. And he used to respond, you know, a few years ago when I met him, he would be somewhat responsive, but now he just doesn't respond anymore. So I don't know if he has a different number. I don't know if he's kind of ghosting us. I really don't know, but we have tried to get Max to come on. So
we will continue to try, and hopefully one day we will make it so.
But Max, if you see this, why are you ghosting me?
You like me. You really like me. All right, let's see if she has anything left to say.
Okay.
That some need to die for the world to flourish.
How about you first?
Yeah, lady.
How about you first?
Agree. You know what? That again, it's when they're saying stuff that I agree with, but just invert it. Like when Stephen Miller was giving his speech and he was talking about like the wretched of the earth. And I'm like, yes, you. I was like, everything he was saying, I felt, and he's like, in our rage. And yes, with this woman, it's the same thing. I completely agree, lady. certain people are going to have to be sacrificed. We're going to start with the evil genocidal freaks. We're going to get rid of them first because they can't play nice with other people. And apparently you're with them. So that's who needs to go. The rest of us can cohabitate.
Now, I know this is not going to come as any surprise to anybody, but bordering on the Upper East Side, 652 Lexington Avenue in Manhattan, New York. That is where Central Synagogue is. If you're looking for a great place.
Wait, where's the Upper East Side?
Well, it says it's technically Midtown. I didn't see what the cross street is. Actually, it's 50. So it's Midtown. It's 55th.
Okay.
So it's East 55th and Lexington Avenue. So 652 Lexington Avenue at the corner of 55th Street. If you are looking for a place to do a free Palestine protest, this is where you go. Go right here and make it so that every fucking person in that city sees it.
Yeah, stand in front of it. Seriously, that's a great idea. Go block these people.
Yeah. And when
Actually,
somebody
the
asks
time
you,
to go, Saturdays, baby. Be there first thing Saturday morning so that people can't easily get into services. First thing Saturday would be set up. You could set up like like some sort of encampment.
That's
but those people will end up having, the police come and
they will
make a whole production. Of course they will.
Listen, set up the protest, get the police to come, and then Jordan and Status Quo will show up and cover it. And that is when everyone will know the psychotic, scorched earth, genocidal thought process of this congregation, of which there is a lot of money and a lot of power behind it. No one can make a statement like that unless they're protected. And that is the way it is. So if you can, and hopefully this clip will go viral when we throw it out there, if you're going to protest, if you want to make an impact, especially in New York.
Or attention Palestine groups and anti-Zionist groups that are in New York. This might be a good location to go be present.
Amen, sister. If you guys are enjoying this content, and we certainly hope you are, one more time this evening, we obviously appreciate you being here. We are a small but mighty channel, but we must inquire if you could go to patreon.com/revolutionary change for as little as $5 a month. You could become a supporter of our small but mighty and growing channel. As of right now, we are currently sitting at 61,579 subscribers.
589 on my phone.
Okay, so we have 2 viral clips running right now. One that I did solo on Nick Fuentes and Erica Kirk, and the other with our wonderful esteemed guest, Anthony Aguilar. Look, we've been very fortunate to see this growth, and we're obviously very appreciative that everybody is here.
Travers.
Travers always says some crazy shit.
He's just being naughty.
Tommels for peace. Thank you so much for the $1.99 Canadian A super sticker. We appreciate you being here. Mark J, thank you very much for the $2. Thank you to Revolutionary Change and Matthew Hoh. We thank you for always being here to support us. The Progressive Lefty, haven't seen you in a while, buddy. Great guest today. We would agree. Jim Talib with the $5 super sticker. Thank you very much. Wanker Tanker checking in with the $2. Shouldn't war criminals be held
Tanker and 2/3 or 2/5?
2/5. Shouldn't war criminals be held accountable? Yeah, that's a novel idea. But
well, then we need to get rid of having any sort of veto power in the UN, and I don't know, do things like have repercussions for violations of international law. But we'll see.
Marvin Vargas with the $2. Do show on Talmud versus Torah. Keep it simple for Zoe.
You know what? We will do. We're getting ready to have like what I'm calling our 5-year-versary week that's coming up. And one of the nights really does coincide with what will be the 2-year anniversary of the genocide that's going on in Palestine. And so that is definitely something we could bring up, especially if we can get Rabbi Rosen or somebody who would very easily be able to explain it. But yes, we will address that potentially on October 6th. I will remember that question because it's very good.
And the amazing thing about it is that on October 6th here, when we do our live stream, it will be October 7th, the 2-year anniversary in Gaza.
Right. But I will say this just very briefly. The Torah is the 5 books of Moses. So the Torah is the Old Testament. essentially. I think there might be a couple other things, but the first 5 books of Moses is the Torah. The Talmud is a compilation of different rules and teachings and scholarly type material, but we can definitely have an in-depth on what the real difference is in terms of the mindset of who follows what. So, yeah.
Kevin Pilati, haven't seen you in a while, brother. Appreciate you being here with the $4.99. What in the holy, sweet, merciful crap? This rabbi is most assuredly around the bend. I am disgusted. So are we.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Not entirely surprising. So again, if you would be so inclined, we do appreciate any and all support that you would be willing to share with our small but mighty and growing channel. We love genolutionary change. Okay, Jay. A K. Biscrew. Thank you very much. Not everything is as seems, especially when it comes to this removal. We have to choose our words carefully. That's one thing.
Of the current non-existence of Charlie Kirk.
But what I will say,
the forcible removal. We'll say a forcible removal.
We have seen enough evidence at this point to know this much. Whatever we've been sold is a lie.
Yes.
Pure and simple. Now, why would they lie, Jen? What would be the motivation to lie about what really happened to Charlie Kirk?
Well, as I said from day one, before anything or anybody, like I said from day one, whoever it is they bring in front of you as the patsy is never going to be the person, and that the call was from inside the house. The call's from inside the house. So those are the 2 things I know. And now what we can add to the list of things that we do know for sure is that what they're saying about the patsy and the shooting in terms of the location, the gun, the weapon, the bullet, is just not possible.
Well, leave it.
So that's what I'm saying is that is not the story. So, you know.
Jen sent me this clip from Stu Peters. Here's what he had to say regarding this removal or supposed removal of Charlie Kirk.
Look at the lavalier. Check this out.
No way. If you want security, the Israelis know what they're doing.
This is the Israeli company that went and grabbed the device or whatever it is, allegedly.
Here it is from the wide angle. Watch Charlie Kirk's right side of his t-shirt. Watch the lavalier lapel mic. Do you see it explode? Let's bring it in just a little bit closer. Watch this. Put it in a freeze frame. That is the explosion from Charlie Kirk's lavalier lapel mic. Want to see it again? Bring it in closer. Remember when we told you that was absolutely an exit wound? Yeah, it is. Check the trajectory of the round that was deployed from that lavalier lapel mic. That went directly from Charlie Kirk's lapel. That went directly from underneath Charlie Kirk's white t-shirt up through his neck and created the exit wound that we told you was an exit wound immediately when we saw that exit wound.
It almost, because it does, it almost looks like it's coming up, like in an upward direction. Like that's what it looks like.
The more they show, and you know, the amazing thing about
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And remember, this is and remember, this is amateur video. So somebody was filming it. And clearly, when they caught it, they knew they had something on their hands. They knew that they had important footage and that they couldn't, you know, I mean, look, when it happened, everybody ran like crazy. I'm sure they tried to capture as much of the footage that they could, but it is clear that somebody sent this to a James O'Keefe type person and said, look what I got here. It's pretty clear that this guy was not killed by a sniper shot on top of a roof, even though that is the message that they're throwing out there, that this is how it was actually done. And the reason why we know that this is the case is because you'd speak to anybody that actually knows firearms, and they will tell you that the firearm that they are implying was used to kill Charlie Kirk. There is no way
it would
have done the damage that it did. It would have been insanely worse, to the point in which most would have suggested that if a 30-round 6 and he took that in the spinal canal, they would have severed his head. His entire head would have been knocked off his.
Yes, his neck would have exploded. It wouldn't be a hole. It would be an explosion of sorts. But regardless, the whole trajectory of what they're claiming is false. The whole thing is false. Look, I would have never, first of all, I wouldn't believe a word that comes out of Kash Patel's mouth. Not one. Although I don't believe a word that comes out of any of their mouths, which is why I don't understand why press corps even talks to these people, because it's not like they're going to tell us the truth anyway. But we know what the most obvious answer is. You're sitting there and talking about this amazing Israeli defense technology and how good their defense is. And let's be real, they were bragging about the pager attack in Lebanon. They were and people were making jokes about it. They thought it was just great. They were so proud of themselves. So this is exactly the kind of technology. And it would be something, because I was watching on Dialogue Works, I was watching Larry Johnson, who I think is amazing also. And, he was sort of discounting the idea of any of the conspiracy stuff, but he was saying it for sure wasn't what they're saying it is. So I'm somewhere between it's for sure not what they're saying it is, and all the way to I would believe anything. But this just seems very logical to me. This exact situation seems very logical to me. He was wearing the weapon. Nobody shot him. And to think that when somebody says, oh, well, we heard a gunshot. Oh, because you don't think that you could totally have the patsy shoot off a round or whoever and be where he's supposed to be. Like, all of having the sound of a gunshot doesn't prove anything. So I don't know. Like, to me, this is starting to feel like the more logical answer than anything. And it's just so up their alley. And he said so, and his security detail is Israeli. Like, it's so to me, it just seems this to me is more in the Occam's razor category, that it was an inside job. But yeah, let it play. But I found this to be very interesting.
First, we had exploding pagers. Now we have exploding mics. Do you remember the vector analysis from John Bray? That proves that all of the activity came from the mic that Charlie Kirk was wearing. Remember the palm gun guy in the brown shirt, that shadowy looking guy with the sunglasses? Yeah, he pushes the detonator. Clear as day.
Counting gang violence. Great.
Now, I don't know about that.
I don't know about that either.
I don't know about that. But I know that it's not what they're telling us. I know it's an inside job. We know it has to do with Ziohel. And, that's what we know. So then it's just a matter of, well, how'd they do it? Right. So now we're just talking about how they did it. And I don't know. I think it's all just very interesting.
We haven't talked about the guy, George Zinn, I think is his name.
Yeah.
And, like I said, when these people get all just kind of set up like this, to me, it becomes more and more obvious, especially since Zinn was apparently involved with 9/11. You can't make this stuff up. These guys don't end up in these situations by happenstance.
No.
They're there for a reason. There's a reason why there were several people in the audience who reacted a certain way, including the guy who went right to the camera and was like, hey, he's dead. It's like,
there's so many things, like, just
too many.
It was theater. It was theater. And it's not a coincidence that they paved over the whole area and there's like no forensics whatsoever.
Yeah, not allowed to review that because, God forbid, it got traced back to, well,
if you're hiding an autopsy and there's no forensic investigation into the scene, then I'm not going to believe a word that you say ever.
No.
So.
But that's the beautiful thing about what's going on here is that, yes, there's people who want to keep this quiet, but overall, most people are questioning this stuff. They're asking themselves, why the fuck is this happening? And the only thing that makes sense,
this is an interesting twist, like a side of it that is also makes sense. And I don't disagree. You know what I mean? Like, that was sort of in the mindset. Yeah. He bit the hand that fed him.
Oh yeah. Well, more
and
than
that's what happened.
Else.
And then he had to be forcibly removed.
And it wasn't just a question of whether or not he had a lot of money, or power, and influence. He did. The thing is, he took an unbelievable amount of money from the Zionist billionaire class. Yeah. When you take that money, that's omerta. That is blood in, blood out. The only way you leave is in a box.
Yes.
That's it. Ginger, if you have not seen our clip from earlier today on Erica Kirk, check it out.
All right. Yeah. So I'm not hip with the guy with the remote, but let it play. Yeah. I mean, he could have just been scratching or moving. I mean, it is kind of a weird motion.
That's the assassin.
That's pretty cool.
That's the guy that pushes the detonator, which perfectly aligns with the explosion that pushes that projectile through Charlie's right side of his neck and out the left side, creating the exit wound.
The whole thing was insane to me. And then the guy
that might just look like the chaos that you would expect after someone was publicly executed in broad daylight in front of 3,000 people. But in no way did that trigger man, that assassin in the brown shirt with the sunglasses, act alone. We have video now from Destiny that shows the handoff of this remote detonator.
This is also weird. They grab something off of him and then walks out. He grabs something off of Charlie Kirk's body. Hands it to this guy. The guy in the brown appears to give him the remote detonator, and then he runs away with it.
Yeah, the guy who flew over the table, and the way he did it in such a fashion as not to, you see, there were people who initially thought that he was going there to try to aid Charlie because of the obvious, because of the blood that was splattering.
No, he slid across that table and bent over and grabbed what he was
going to something, whatever the fuck it was that he grabbed.
Reached over and grabbed it, and now this guy's handing him the remote that goes with whatever that is. That's what it looks like. What the hell?
Yeah, that's it.
And he touches his shoulder again? No, that's not his arm. Yeah. He jumped the table, grabbed something from the other guy, and then took off.
He is dead. If anyone is, there are people who think he's not really dead. Let me assure you.
Unless I saw something where a guy thinks it's a hologram.
Well, whatever they may think that it was, here's the bottom line. If that is really him, Charlie Kirk is deceased. He could see the life fall out of his body.
Yes, if that's a real person and not a hologram. Anywho.
What? I don't think it was a hologram.
I don't either. But I'm saying I'm everywhere I'm on a spectrum between I know what they're saying is bullshit to I know that and I know that it has something to do with the Zio state, but I believe every other to me. But this is so it's like they're using a playbook thinking that they're the only people with any technology, but it's like you might have really good technology, but people have phones and footage and shit. It's like I don't know. It just looks like he's handing off something like the whole thing is weird.
I agree.
And the guy that was in front of the ground is acting now.
It makes that chaos.
We had John Cullen on the program last week, and he made a great point about ballistic acoustics being altered to hide the location of the real shooter. Well, the same can be said to distract from the fact that there was no shooter. Tyler Robinson did not kill Charlie Kirk. This guy, brown shirt guy, he's the assassin. Oh.
Now, I wouldn't say it like black and white, like that's the guy. But I got to say, that was like it was an interesting assessment. And it makes sense to me that Israel would do that. They were bragging about the pagers. What would be such a difference in that technology that you wouldn't be able to do that? I mean, again, it doesn't seem like a big jump.
Well, I like what Jimmy Zimzan says, Man of Steel theory.
Yeah. Well, all of it. The point is, I know what we're being told is completely untrue. They have no forensics. They have no autopsy. They have nothing. They have a patsy. That's what they have. And so whatever it is they're saying is completely untrue. The motive is definitely with the Zio state. We see it. And if this guy who's his secondhand person that's now running or the spokesperson for TPUSA, he's into it over his head too. I also think the wife is in on it. I think that it's like been a game from the beginning for the Zio state. That's what I think.
Once
So.
they seized an opportunity to make a move, they knew that they needed to have their LBJ, if you will, that was waiting in the wings to do something. I don't believe we're going to get to it by Thursday. Maybe we will, but at Saturday, the latest, we're going to address Andrew Colvin, who I do believe is probably the shadiest one of them all that's
So,
involved.
but is it him? Would you think him or Ben Shapiro in terms of who's the LBJ?
As I said, Shapiro is the bagman. He is the connection between Trump and Netanyahu. He is basically the Israel lobby's bagman. That is exactly what the Daily Wire is. That is his operation. In terms of a person that they needed to get to that would absolutely go along with whatever bullshit that they were going to sell to the public, the idea that this super pious guy that calls himself Andrew Colvin, who is supposedly second in command of Turning Point USA.
That's literally the LBJ of the whole story.
This is the guy that comes out and writes this entire long message about how not only was Charlie shot in the neck and killed, but that he had a neck of steel that prevented other people from dying. As soon as you put out a statement like that, to me, it's not even a question of whether you're in on the cover-up. It's whether or not you were actually in on making sure that this went down in the first place.
Well, I think that, and you're definitely waiting in the wings. So now you have Turning Point, which my understanding was a very Christian organization, and apparently now it's being run by Jewish people.
Well, Shapiro just gave them $1 million, a cool million, right out of the box. You think there's not more of that where that came from? You think that's not how they're going to keep it afloat? I mean, Charlie Kirk was the golden goose, and the golden goose was slain, and now they don't know what the fuck to do. Now they don't know how they're going to run their operation because so much of it was kept up and afloat and growing because of the Zionist billionaire money. And now that money's gone.
And there it is right there. Okay, the thing about her is that she goes back with Trump to the beauty pageants. She was a teenager. She's been groomed from the beginning, just like Charlie Kirk was. This almost sounds like it was arranged. I mean, I don't know whether or not they really liked each other. They might have, but it was definitely like it worked. It was a very merit convenient thing for that team. She's into something. There's something off. She is way too okay for someone who just watched her husband publicly be forcibly removed.
Yeah.
Like she is way too okay. And the whole, her at that thing was creepy. She wasn't crying, but she kept wiping her eyes like she was. She was just there's something so like sinister and calculated in this whole thing. The whole thing with her and the Romania and child trafficking and her, like, it's just the link between her and Epstein and Trump. Like, it's all so like.
I don't know if that's true or not, ancient crustacean, but certainly wouldn't be surprising. So a lot.
So who
more.
knows what the wife was in? Who knows what that second in command was into? Any of it. But you know, this was a Zio thing.
Thank you, Baby Ethernet, for the $2. Independent media will debunk this BS narrative with a flame and a wink. Yes, anything to continue to perpetuate the lies, because that is what they do. And we have an obligation to question. Again, we're not here to save Charlie Kirk and his legacy. What we are here to do is to expose why he was killed. He had a lot of money. He had a lot of power. He had a lot of influence. And when he decided he was not on board with what Israel was doing anymore, wow, just out of the clear blue sky, somebody was going to kill him.
And demanding the release of the Epstein files.
Absolutely. So the second it is proven beyond a reasonable doubt that this patsy is not the person who did this.
No.
Then the next logical conclusion, as Jen so eloquently puts it every time, is what is Occam's razor? That's it.
It's who has the most to gain or who had the most to lose. And there's just two. We know it's the Zio state. We see you. We see it. Like, we see you. Now, we won't probably ever be able to sit here and tell you exactly how, the method, the thing. I don't know how much of what he was showing us.
You know the
thing. The thing, you know, but we know who. We know who. Which is really the most important thing we need to know. Everything else is just the theater of it all. We know who did this. So, you know what, and I could tell you it's not the patsy.
Definitely not. Smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things that we ask you to do. We love you all. We appreciate you all. We'll see you Thursday, and
free Palestine.
Good night, guys.